in Konoha, starting by unlocking the Tenseigan. Hey, fanfic family! So glad to see you here again to continue this incredible adventure. As always, kindly remember, this story is 100% fiction, so don't go looking for dimensional portals in your closet. All rights to this fantastic novel belong to the original author. We're just your humble narrators of epic tales. Are you enjoying the fanfic? Show it by subscribing to our YouTube channel and dropping us a like. And if you're impatient for more exclusive content, our Patreon is your happy place. Chapter 26: The beginning of a wonderful journey? At the gate of Konoha, there was more noise than usual. Most of the noise came from two groups of people. One group was dressed in white kimonos and had white ties. Needless to say, they were from the Hyūga clan. The other group was dressed in different styles and fully armed. They all looked at the handsome man in the middle of the other group with some impatience. Even Hyūga Teru had not expected that so many people would come to see him off. All of this seemed to be arranged by a certain uncle with a little boy. But it made Hyūga Teru feel a little annoyed. By the way, Uncle Hisashi, why did you tell so many people about this? Originally, I just wanted a few people to see me off, but now it's not nice to be surrounded like this. Hisashi scratched his head in embarrassment and had to push Neji, who was holding a 2-foot-long sword in his hand. Neji, quickly give the sword to your cousin. Although Neji didn't understand, he still obediently held the sword in both hands and knelt on one knee in a proper manner. Brother Wei, my father asked me to give you this sword. It's said to be the best sword in our clan. It conducts chakra even better than the White Fang short blade, and can withstand heat, lightning, heavy pressure, and millions of blows. I wish you good luck in martial arts, and a speedy return. Hinata was quite satisfied with Neji's performance. But this sword's abilities, why do they sound familiar? After receiving the katana, Hinata handed the katana at his waist to Hisashi. By the way, Uncle Hisashi, can you tell me how much this sword is worth? Hisashi took it curiously, and just as he drew it, a burst of cold white light suddenly shone, causing his pupils to shrink. How did you come to possess this sword? This was forged by Master Kingming, the founder of the artisan ninja village. It might be even more valuable than the one I just gave you. Hinata raised an eyebrow and drew out the katana Neji had given him. He noticed that the radiance it emitted was remarkably similar to the katana Fugaku had given him. He was intrigued. Our clan's finest katana isn't even as good as this one? But it looks like this one was also made by Kingming, right? Hyūga Teru knew a bit about Kingming. Each of the 5 weapons forged in the original story possessed extraordinary abilities, almost comparable to the 7 ninja swords of the Hidden Mist. Combined together, with enough energy, they could even revive Kingming. It might seem unscientific, but it's undeniable that this guy crafts weapons well. Hisashi was stunned, a bit embarrassed. They were indeed made by Master Kingming, but the one our clan bought later is a Katachi-style Kyametsu Teba. It was worth about 50 million ryo at the time, and this one of yours, I suspect it's the second or first katana-style Kyametsu Teba. It might have been worth 90 million ryo at the time. Hinata Teru's eyes widened upon hearing this. 90 million ryo? What about the 10 million ryo? Wait, when exactly are you talking about that time? Hisashi scratched his head as he handed the katana back, reminiscing for a moment. I remember my father saying that not long after the Takumi village was founded, they suddenly needed money. So, they auctioned off these swords, probably around the 10th year of Konoha. Hinata Teru's mouth twitched, and he felt the sword in his hand suddenly become heavy. 90 million ryo in the 10th year of Konoha. In the 51st year of Konoha, would have been closer to 900 million, right? Could this weapon be so precious? This is unbelievable. Suddenly, I remembered Fugaku's angry departure. I inexplicably felt a little sorry for him. At first, I wanted to take advantage of his signing in with the Uchiha, but now it seems like our friendship has deepened. I don't know how to thank him when I return to the village. That genocidal weasel cub definitely needs a good lesson. As for that restless reincarnation of Indra, maybe a few more fights will make him behave, right? With this thought, Hinata Teru looked towards the distance of Konoha. Suddenly, he seemed to see 2 familiar figures in the direction of the Uchiha. Father, why didn't you go to the gate to see Uncle Teru off? Uchiha Itachi tilted his head, looking curiously at Fugaku. Fugaku remained expressionless, staring in Hyūga Teru's direction. I already did it this morning. Any more would make me, the Uchiha, look weak. With that, Fugaku placed a hand on Itachi's head. Itachi, from now on, When you see your Uncle Teru, you must treat him with the respect of a teacher. Do you understand? Itachi didn't understand why, but he nodded and gazed off into the distance. He'd heard of Hyūga Teru before. It was said that he could instantly unleash extraordinary fire escape techniques with a clap of his hands. At first, he was skeptical, considering there were others who mastered fire escape techniques even better than the Uchiha. But after witnessing his unfathomable shuriken jutsu, he gradually became convinced. Treating that man with the respect of a teacher was acceptable to him. After all, shuriken jutsu was enough for him to learn for years. At the gate, it was almost time to leave. Hyūga Teru was exhausted. He chatted with a group of clan members he hardly knew, and had to accept all kinds of strange things. He reluctantly accepted Jiraiya's book. What were the stockings and transparent films for? He didn't understand. In order to avoid hurting the relationship, he had to accept them all. After persuading those strangers to leave, the only ones left were Hinata Natsu with tears in her eyes, and Hisashi who also had tears in his eyes. He originally wanted to comfort Hinata Natsu, who took care of him very well. But Hisashi crying beside him made him feel a little uncomfortable. It was just like when he was kissing Akika. Ruho was standing next to him, looking at him with the eyes of a heartless man. Ugh! I say. Uncle Hisashi, why are you crying? You act like an old woman. You don't have to be so sad, right? Hisashi wiped his tears and sobbed. What's the big deal? Who says men can't cry? If Niji had ever carved a caged bird, he'd have cried even harder than I did. Promise, uncle? You'll come back alive. If you do, not only will you cry like a woman, but we'll both dress up to welcome you, Niji. Hinata Teru was stunned. But then he remembered that some of the people he didn't know had cried and said goodbye. It seemed understandable that Hisashi would cry like that. It's just that the women's clothing was a bit too shocking, wasn't it? Even though it's hard for me to understand, uncle, you'd rather wear women's clothing than die, but I accept your kindness. Remember to dress nicely when I come back. Preferably with black stockings, otherwise it'll be too ugly to show your leg hair, Hinata Teru said, even glancing at Niji. He had to admit. This little boy is truly handsome. He remembered the twin-tailed Niji in Lee's youth all-powerful ninja legend. It was quite stunning indeed. After saying goodbye to Hisashi Niji, only Hinata Natsu was left. This gentle, considerate woman, who always obeyed him, was now in tears. Hinata racked his brains and promised to catch a few more of the strongest Cloud Thunder cattle in the Land of Thunder for her to eat. Only then did he coax her into submission. Chapter 27. Arriving at the Thunder Fire border. A day passed. Hinata Teru's team of dozens finally reached the border between the Land of Lightning and the Land of Fire. The two sides seemed like two completely different regions. The Land of Fire was more forested, while the Land of Lightning was densely grassed. In the Land of Lightning, one could vaguely see cattle and sheep grazing, along with the sturdy herders. But Hinata Teru hadn't seen a single Cloud Thunder bull, rumored to be a summoning beast and incredibly delicious. Having thought he could catch a few Cloud Thunder bulls while visiting the border, Hinata Teru gradually calmed down. After all, scarcity makes things valuable. In the Land of Fire, Cloud Thunder bull beef is sold by the gram. It's only natural that Cloud Thunder bulls aren't common in the Land of Lightning. However, according to the original body's memories, during the Third World War, Kumagakure once used tens of thousands of Cloud Thunder bulls to cross the entire Land of Fire and nearly reached Konoha. Their route was known during the process, and they were ambushed several times. In the end, the cattle and men perished, and with ammunition and food exhausted, they were forced to flee the Land of Fire in disgrace. This is a story not depicted in the original novels. The Third Raikage also perished in this battle. However, after that battle, not only did the elite Kumagakure eat many Kumagakure beef with tears in their eyes, but the attacked Konoha also seized a large amount of beef. As one of Konoha's most powerful clans, the Hyūga clan naturally received a significant share. Hinata Teru's memories of Kumagakure beef probably date back to that time. However, it was also because of this battle that the Kumagakure beef dwindled significantly, becoming a deluxe item on the dining table within just a few years. It's unclear whether Kumagakure is hoarding them to replenish their numbers, or whether they are truly extremely rare, on the verge of extinction. With this question and a slight regret, Hinata Teru followed the group into the sentry tower they were assigned to guard. The tower was roughly 2 stories tall, with an earthy yellow hue. It looked like a makeshift garrison constructed using earth escape techniques. The tower itself was several kilometers in radius. In the distance, Identical watchtowers could be seen, almost every few kilometers apart, as if they were built by the same person. Just as Hyūga Teru was curious about the tower layout, a listless young man with a crooked pineapple haircut and a wispy mustache stepped to the front of the group. "Good afternoon, fellow Konoha members who have arrived for the relief. I am Nara Yui, the primary officer in charge of the Thunderfire border. Now, let me explain our primary border mission. It's no surprise that a member of the Nara family would become a border commander. Though seemingly young, his thinking was meticulous, his logic clear, and his speech concise and accessible. This alone impressed the newcomers, including Hyūga Teru, with his impressive commanding abilities. Nara Yui's brief explanation gave Hyūga Teru a general understanding of the primary mission of the border defense. It was a bit amusing, actually. These men didn't need to intercept the enemy, they simply needed to report them immediately upon sighting them. They were essentially scouts. However, while not explicitly stated, Nara Yashio hinted that numerous ninja were stationed in the rear, ensuring that any enemy entering the border would be prevented from returning. This made Hyūga Teru suddenly understand why the road had been so heavily crisscrossed with traps, with troops repeatedly passing by. But the border garrison life that Danzo and the others had given him was just scouting and running? That's all? Nara Yashio finished explaining the mission, and it was time to assign each person's assignment. Each person was assigned a task, varying in difficulty. When it was Hyūga Teru's turn, Nara Yashio frowned, pondering for a long moment before speaking. "Senior, why don't you take a look for yourself? Are you a little different from us? Do you have a special mission, really?" Hyūga Teru, also curious, took Nara Yashio's assignment document and immediately examined it. He saw a simple sentence written behind his name. But that single sentence instantly revealed the hidden conspiracy behind it. It read, "This person requires no further arrangements, everything is left to his own will." Simply put, Hyūga Teru could do whatever he wanted. No restrictions at all. While the higher-ups' arrangements seemed thoughtful on the surface, they were probably anticipating his impulsive behavior, and instead of running around, he'd fight the Kumagakure ninja to the bitter end. Still, this arrangement was truly excellent. He could do whatever he wanted. At least he had the chance to steal cattle from Kumagakure. After figuring it all out, Hyūga Teru nodded. "I understand. You can arrange for the next person." Nara Yui, having received the mission documents, remained puzzled. However, the mission documents were clearly written, and the other party seemed to understand the mission by heart. He couldn't let his imagination run wild. After the missions were assigned, the entire team dispersed. Those assigned returned to their respective posts. Hyūga Teru comfortably lay down on the warm, soft straw. But just moments later, the ninja in charge of reconnaissance hurriedly sounded the alarm. The personnel in the watchtower regrouped. Nara Yashio walked up to everyone and said in a very serious tone, "The intruder is Troy, the magnetic ninjutsu user from Kumagakure. Everyone, quickly grab your light supplies and follow me to the watchtower 6 kilometers northeast." "Yes," the ninjas responded in unison. Just as everyone was busy packing up, Hyūga Teru, as if nothing had happened, lay down on the haystack where he had been before. This made Nara Yashio, who was already curious, even more confused about what he was up to. He passed by Hyūga Teru several times, but he still looked like a lazy fish. Nara Yashio could no longer bear it and walked over to Hyūga Teru and warned him. "Senior, the invading enemy is Troy from Kumagakure. His magnetic ninjutsu is very powerful, and no one here can resist it. You should also pack up quickly and retreat with us," Hyūga Teru said lazily, opening his eyes slightly. "I know, you just go. I'm different from you, I have other missions after all." Nara Yui had good intentions, and he couldn't just kick him out. So he made up a special mission to get rid of him. Nara Yui showed an expression of as expected. Although he was still a little confused, he was no longer worried about Hyūga Teru's strange behavior. However, he was no longer worried. Instead, the others began to whisper. "Is this guy from Hyūga here to station at the border, or is he here for fun?" "That's right. When he left the village, a large group of people saw him off. I guess he's a spoiled nobleman in Hyūga. It's so good to be born in a big family. Even on border missions, they can be so leisurely. They are the bosses wherever they go." The difference between people is really big. Although the ninjas seemed envious, their eyes were actually full of contempt. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. we warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 28, Fighting Against the Hidden Cloud Army. However, the whispers gradually accumulated and became a noisy clamor. Although it was comfortable to lie on the haystack and bask in the sun, the noise around him disturbed his mood. Rinnegan quickly stood up and glanced at the ninjas around him. However, they seemed to be grabbed by the pigtails. Suddenly they hurried, kept silent, and concentrated on moving supplies. Seeing this, Rinnegan couldn't help but shake his head regretfully. There is no one who can make me smile crookedly. It's so boring. I thought I could stretch my muscles after stretching. He glanced at the tiny but dense Hyūga troops in the distance. With just one glance, he estimated the approximate number. If it's just 100 people, it should be enough to fill the gap. Rinnegan muttered to himself and jumped to the top of the watchtower. Stars seemed to be condensed in his sky blue pupils. Tenseigan chakra mode. Activate. A powerful gust of air suddenly erupted from the watchtower, instantly enveloping Hyūga Teru in a dazzling blue light. In the blink of an eye, a sky blue robe condensed around him. Bang! The earth and rocks above the watchtower shattered in an instant. Hyūga Teru shot out like an arrow, hurtling towards the Hyūga forces at a speed too fast to be seen by the naked eye. For a moment, Hyūga Teru's action startled the Konoha ninjas below, who were carrying supplies. That guy, is he heading straight for a fight with a Hyūga ninja? No way. There are 100 of them, more than 3 times the total number of people in the watchtower, but he's heading straight for that group, not even turning. Many people repeatedly observed Hyūga Teru's path, confirming that he was indeed heading towards the Hyūga forces. They were speechless with shock, their cheeks burning. Just moments before, they'd been laughing at others for sightseeing, yet in the blink of an eye, they were charging towards the enemy troops, seemingly on the verge of a fight. Compared to them, who were always ready to flee, Hyūga Teru was a true warrior. Although they didn't understand his actions, they were deeply shocked. Not only did they charge directly at the 100-man Hyūga army, but even with only a dozen men, they didn't rush forward to fight alone. Suddenly, a different voice echoed from the crowd. How can their bodies withstand such frequent use of the instant body technique? And engaging Hyūga ninjas? They're probably exhausted before they even reach them. Could it be that they overheard our discussion and, enraged, wanted to die with the Hyūga ninjas? That's too shocking. If that's the case, wouldn't it be a joke? The first Konoha ninja to die at the hands of their comrades. As this rumor spread, the Konoha ninjas, who had just felt a little inferior, were filled with astonishment. A few people wore sarcastic smiles, occasionally glancing in Hyūga Teru's direction, as if hoping to witness something hilarious. And in the crowd, a young ninja with a pineapple-like hairstyle and a scar on his nose. A look of deep concern crossed his face, and he tugged at the sleeve of a man with sky blue hair standing beside him. Mizuki, if that Hyūga clan member, provoked by our discussion, wants to kill the Hyūga ninja, wouldn't we have indirectly caused his death? Mizuki's mocking smile froze. His expression quickly darkened, and he suddenly grabbed Iruka by the collar, lifting him up. If he wants to die, that's his business. What does it have to do with us? You'd better not spread it around. Otherwise, if the Hyūga clan blames you, you'll likely be held accountable. Iruka had only just said that he envied Hyūga Teru's words, and his words weren't excessive. But Mizuki's words filled him with worry. After Mizuki left, Iruka seemed distraught. It wasn't just because his friend Mizuki had suddenly transformed. It was also because, from childhood on, Konoha's professors had always taught him the importance of mutual support and solidarity among his peers. Furthermore, the noble spirit of the Fire Will, the elders who overcame obstacles for the younger generation and created a stable living environment, deeply resonated with him. Even as he grew up, he yearned to contribute to the greater good of Konoha. At that moment, he was mired in endless conflict. But the thought of the kindly smile on his face made him clench his fists, as if strength had returned to him. Iruka's eyes instantly cleared, and he walked resolutely towards Narayui's location. However, entering the watchtower, he felt like entering a completely unfamiliar place. The atmosphere was no longer tense, but rather a place of collective revelry. Iruka gazed at everyone inside in disbelief. He was even more astonished to find that the usually composed Narayui was excitedly clutching his binoculars, clapping his thigh and cheering. If memory serves, That was exactly the direction of Hyūga Teru. Goddess Uzuki, is that really a massive fireball? A massive fireball actually killed over 10 people. That's unbelievable, that's truly exaggerated. The fireball was over 20 meters in diameter. Even if the Uchiha clan leader came, he wouldn't be that powerful, right? Attack Troy. Attack Troy. Troy launched 2 massive iron blocks, and they bounced back. They bounced back. Troy was hit by his own iron blocks and vomited blood. Listening to the shocked shouts around him, Iruka was extremely curious and felt that it was time to grab his binoculars and take a look at that exciting direction. He pulled out the binoculars from the scroll and pointed them in Hyūga Teru's direction. Iruka clearly saw the scene where the Kumagakure forces and Hyūga Teru clashed. Ninjas in Kumagakure uniforms lay densely packed on the ground. Black smoke billowed from their bodies, and their bodies showed signs of varying degrees of burns. Troy, the one who instilled fear in everyone in the Sentry Tower, was now spitting blood and gazing fearfully at the approaching Hyūga Teru. He couldn't tell what he said, but immediately afterward, a nearly maniacal grin crept across his face. This made Iruka suspect that Troy, unable to accept defeat, had suddenly collapsed into a hysterical fit. Suddenly, everyone around him exclaimed in surprise. Oh no! It's a sneak attack. They actually did it. This kind of chakra destructive power, could it be a Jinchuriki? She descended to the ground on Troy's iron plate. Was she flying in the air the entire time, preparing for a sneak attack? The surrounding ninjas all wore scowls, many gnashing their teeth. But Mizuki, witnessing the same scene, chuckled with a particularly ferocious smile. How foolish. Born into a prominent family, with good looks, you're starting at a point where ordinary people would struggle their entire lives, and yet you just love the spotlight, and now you've run into Jinchuriki. Now, let's see how you'll end up. Chapter 29, Unlimited Interview. Boom. A sudden, resounding thunderclap erupted in Hyūga Teru's area. A massive mushroom cloud of condensed yellow dust quickly rose from the flat ground. In that instant, both Hyūga Teru and Troy were completely enveloped by the cloud, as if devoured by a prehistoric beast. The ground below them sank deeply, and the cloud lingered for several minutes before mostly dissipating. Troy's body was now in tatters. Fortunately, he had just immediately scooped up metal scraps from the ground and covered himself with a layer of metal armor. Even the armor couldn't withstand the shockwave, leaving his body ripped and torn, his face swollen like a pig's head. But a smile remained on his face, for the shockwave alone was so powerful that Hyūga Teru, facing the onslaught head-on, would surely be utterly annihilated. Hyūga Teru's death was certain. Even though he had just nearly annihilated their 100-man army single-handedly, when he looked in Hyūga Teru's direction, his smile abruptly faltered, his eyes widening as if he had seen a ghost. How is this possible? Why isn't he dead yet? Why isn't he dead yet? Troy's screams echoed across the empty grassland. He even suspected he was hallucinating. He repeatedly lifted his Parkinson's-like hand, trying to dispel the illusion. But with each attempt, everything seemed clearer. That immortal-like, invincible man. Still elegant, not even a strand of his long hair draped over his back was out of place. His noble appearance, even under the tailed beastball-like attack, remained perfectly intact. But his hand was held high. He was clutching something tightly in his hand. Troy had been magnetically arranging the monster in the air, preparing it for Konoha's surprise. That monstrous woman's eyes were now rolling, as if she were about to suffocate. But what on earth was going on? The person Hyūga Teru held in his grip was no one but the feared figure of Kumagakure, the two-tailed Jinchuriki, Uchiha. The tailed beast's terrifying attack not only failed to harm Hyūga Teru, but it also seemed as if his fate had been strangled by the scruff of his neck, held in his grasp. What had happened to this world? He was already a master of the tailed beast's transformation. The two-tailed Jinchuriki? Hyūga Teru loosened his grip slightly, but held Uchiha, whose eyes were rolling back and suffocating. Seeing that she had regained some consciousness, he spoke to her. As a tailed beast, your power is a bit too great. But if you don't want to die, you'd better look me in the eye. This is your only chance. Uchiha had just regained some consciousness when he heard these words. Suddenly, his mind felt a little inadequate. What do you mean my power is too great and I must die? You, who could subdue me with a single hand, are you a monster? But with his life completely in his hands, Uchiha had no choice. He could only obediently gaze into the man's eyes. His pupils were azure and deep as stars. His face was incredibly handsome, his aura ethereal. The very first sight of him made her heart race, her cheeks flush. But then, with a flash of blue light, the surrounding scene shifted dramatically. Bowls of steaming food lay everywhere, the delicate white edges faintly visible. Could this be ramen? Except for where she stood, ramen was everywhere. Could this be an illusion? Just as she realized this, Hyūga Teru appeared before her, smiling. This is an illusion space, I call it the noodle reading space. This is the first time it's been used, so I want to see its effects. Noodle reading space? What exactly is this? But before the wooden figure could undo the illusion, the white noodles in the floating ramen bowls suddenly came to life, rising into the air with a broth. Then, like a sea of ramen, they madly enveloped her. What the hell is this? Gulp. Yukiro, repeatedly trying to break the illusion to no avail, suddenly lost her voice as a flood of noodles gushed into her mouth. Her stomach suddenly swelled to its maximum size, and with her eyes nearly popping out of her head in terror, she exploded into a bloody mass. But her body quickly solidified again, and noodles were poured into her mouth once more. Hyūga Teru's use of her to test this ninjutsu wasn't because he was a psychopath. It was simply because ordinary people couldn't withstand such torture, which was clearly even more terrifying than Itachi's Tsukuyomi. However, he did discover a few interesting things. First, the Samsara Eye could unleash an infinite number of ninjago. Second, he could control where the noodles were poured, giving him a high degree of control. Finally, he could force the noodles in and then have them spit them out, adjusting the speed of the filling. Furthermore, the noodles could condense into larger pieces, becoming as strong as a rope. Soon, Yukiro was bound. This cycle repeated itself for a long time. But in the real world, Yukiro, suddenly trapped in the face-reading dimension, lost control of her tail beast cloak. Her eyes transformed into brilliant white beast pupils, her hands extended with long claws, and deep blue flames emanated from her body. Human, what have you done to my Jinchuriki? If you don't want to die, let her go? Hyūga Teru smiled. Let her go, but make sure you're connected. Don't let her die. As soon as she finished speaking, Yukido's stomach suddenly swelled to its maximum, bursting with countless holes before suddenly contracting. At the same time, blood gushed out of her stomach like a shower. What on earth is going on? What on earth did you do to her? The two tails stared at Hyūga Teru in astonishment and disbelief. Simultaneously, it used its chakra to quickly seal the holes in Yukido's body, slowly repairing them. Seeing this, Hyūga Teru felt relieved, feeling that choosing Yukido as a test subject was a wise decision. You'd better heal her quickly, or you might die with her down. Human, don't let me recover, or I'll tear you apart. Hyūga Teru completely ignored the two tails' roar and stepped in front of Troy, ready to deliver another blow. Witnessing the woodman's tragic plight, Troy was deeply shocked, his face filled with horror. Even the two tails couldn't withstand this man's attack. How could his mortal body withstand it? But as a renowned user of magnetic escape, when had he ever bowed to an enemy? Even though his body trembled with fear, he summoned the last of his courage. What do you want, you bastard? If you want to kill us, you'd better consider the consequences of angering Kumagakure. Kill you? Hyūga Teru scoffed and shook his head. I didn't kill anyone. After all, not only can the fire release not kill, but I also held back on the others. Besides, your death would lower the price, so how could I let you die? Chapter 30, Using the Sharingan's Hypnosis Function. Inside the watchtower, upon seeing Hyūga Teru intact and having captured the Jinchuriki, everyone breathed a sigh of relief, erupting in cheers of victory. But then the Jinchuriki suddenly transformed fully into a tailed beast, causing everyone to hold their breath in fear for Hyūga Teru. But Mizuki alone wore a sinister expression, a fierce grin etched in his face. I thought the tailed beasts were truly defeated, but it seems this is only the beginning. Come to think of it, how could a tailed beast like a natural disaster be easily defeated? It seems this guy has no chance of survival. It's a good thing he's killed so many enemies, maybe I can get some credit. This trip wasn't in vain after all. As Mizuki muttered these sinister words, Iruka, who had just arrived behind him, stopped himself from patting his shoulder and said in disbelief. Mizuki, how could you think that of that lord? He's fighting for Konoha? Mizuki's heart suddenly sank, and his expression suddenly became horrified. But just as he was about to turn around and repeat his trick on Iruka, he suddenly noticed the eyes of those around him had turned serious. They all looked at him with a deep dislike that made his heart flutter. No wonder you thought Mizuki was a little strange. Just now, when that lord was in danger, he was there, laughing sinisterly. What a jerk. He's a bit treacherous normally, but how could he do that to the village hero? That's right, this guy is terrible. That lord was fighting for the village, and he's talking behind his back. He's a real jerk. Faced with the angry glares around him, Mizuki was terrified and quickly denied it. No. I didn't say that. Don't slander me. I didn't say that. However, the people around him remained stern, their fists clenched in dismay. Bang! A massive fist suddenly smashed into Mizuki's handsome face, disfiguring him instantly. You bastard. He could have just admitted his mistake, but now he's suspecting everyone. Are you crazy? What a hypocrite. How could Konoha have such a person? He's completely devoid of the will of fire. I'm ashamed to be associated with him. He better learn his lesson this time. After expressing his anger towards Mizuki, everyone rushed forward, punching and kicking him. Fortunately, the ninjas in other directions suddenly cheered in surprise. The people who were scolding Mizuki also stopped their actions. What? That sir has completely subdued the Jinchuriki and completely defeated the Kumagakure ninja. That's too strong. Hasn't the village had such a strong person in a long time since the fall of the Yondaime? Yes, he feels even stronger than Shisu, the instantaneous body-slaying Shisa from the water and fire border. The Yondaime slashing kills are like a flash of golden light. Why not call this sir the Blue Flash? The ninjas in the watchtower discussed the situation with great joy. Some even nicknamed Hyūga Teru the Blue Flash. Completely forgetting Mizuki's misdeeds, they agreed to go clean up the battlefield together. Soon, the watchtower was deserted. Mizuki, battered and bruised, grimaced as he applied medicine to himself. Iruka, apologetic in his eyes, stood by, doing nothing but watching. But soon, Mizuki handed Iruka the medicine. Iruka, I realize my mistake. Can you forgive me? Iruka was stunned for a moment, then smiled tearfully and nodded. Of course, I believe you were just confused. After all, we've always been friends. Thank you, Iruka, Mizuki said, removing his shirt, revealing his sturdy, fair body. There's a little wound on my back that can't be applied. Can you help me? Iruka paused for a moment, blushing, and moved behind Mizuki. Mizuki, I'm coming. Just bear with it, The Konoha ninja, who had been out, had already reached Hyūga Teru. Seeing the densely packed Kumagakure ninjas lying on the ground, a look of triumph could not help but appear on his face. Quickly, under the command of Narayui, they cleaned up the battlefield and tied up the living ninjas and took them into custody. However, to Hyūga Teru's surprise, not all Kumagakure ninjas seemed to be alive. Tai-senpai, there were a total of 100 attacking enemies. You killed 34 of them, and 66 were captured. What should we do with them? After Narayui finished counting, he immediately went to Hyūga Teru for instructions. This surprised Hyūga Teru. He clearly remembered that the fire release had knocked down a group of people, and the repulsion had lightly knocked down another group. How could there still be deaths? Could fire release kill people? Glancing at the ninjas near the deep pit, who were beaten into sieves by the stone ships, Hyūga Teru immediately understood. The fire release had indeed failed to kill anyone, but it seemed that the tailed beasts had killed one of their own. After realizing this, Hyūga Teru said, "Tie them up first. I'll seal their acupuncture points one by one later so you can better guard them. As for the Jinchuriki and the magnetic ninja, they're too powerful for you to control. Send them to my tent first. I'll ask you to help write a battle report for this battle. However, as for the post-war treatment of the enemy, I hope to exchange them for money and supplies to offset some of the war debt." Although this last request was a bit different from previous ones, Narayui didn't dare to doubt it. In fact, he was also a little excited. Because Konoha finally had a strong leader, it finally had a chance to stand tall against Kumagakure. Ling. Detected that the host has defeated Yukito and Troy. Congratulations. The host has earned a Sharingan Hypnosis Quarksunin, Sharingan Hypnosis use. Complete the hypnosis of Troy and Yukito with a Sharingan within a day to receive a mysterious reward. Tisk, it seems his decision to leave the village was a suicidal one. Simply defeating Yukito and Troy immediately earned him a Quarksunin, a quest-like experience. It was truly worth the long journey. Initially, upon discovering the 7-day sign-in achievement, he felt leaving the village was a mistake. Now that frustration had completely dissipated, Hyūga Teru actually began to look forward to his future as a border garrison. It would be great if a few more well-known enemies would come to fight him. After he'd become stronger, he'd return to the village and defeat all of Konoha's inhabitants and reap all the rewards. Having roughly summarized the quirk sign and patterns, Hyūga Teru had a clear vision. After returning to the watchtower, he had become the most respected figure in the entire camp. After sealing the acupuncture points of the few survivors from Kumagakure, he soon found Troy and Yukito in the tent, their injuries already treated. Although exposing the Sharingan was not a good idea, hypnotizing them would allow them to do whatever they wanted, so there was nothing to worry about. After a few attempts, Troy could only make abba sounds, and the hypnosis was effective. As for Yukito, it seemed that he was in trouble because of the tailed beast. Chapter 31, Opportunity to increase endurance fivefold. Hypnotizing Yukito was fruitless, not because he couldn't. It was because, after hypnotizing both Yukito and Yukito, he still couldn't hear the system prompt. Hyūga Teru tried repeatedly, but couldn't pinpoint the key issue. So, he began manipulating Yukito and Yukito, performing various maneuvers. He performed numerous challenging poses, but to no avail. He then attempted to transform into a tailed beast. However, as soon as he transformed, he discovered a problem. Yukito's chakra connected with Yukito's, but Yukito suddenly lost control and lost to hypnosis. This made Hyūga Teru realize that this might be the problem. He then continued to hypnotize Yukito and Yukito, repeatedly transforming them into tailed beasts. The essence of Genjutsu is to disrupt the flow of chakra within the target. However, after being under Genjutsu, the flow of chakra within the target isn't completely irregular. On the contrary, the specific patterns of chakra flow determine the specific nature of the Genjutsu. While hypnosis is still a minor difference, after all, tailed beasts are different from humans. Hyūga Teru subconsciously channeled a bit more chakra into the tailed beasts. This caused a disturbance in the chakra connection between the two. In other words, even under hypnosis, the chakra flow in both bodies must be roughly equal. After discovering this, Hyūga Teru made adjustments, and soon he was controlling the woodman's tailed beast transformation, even allowing her to fully transform. Invisibly, it seemed as if he had achieved the same control over the fourth Raikage as a Bido. Sharingan hypnosis using the personality check-in is complete. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the magnetic release bloodline and a mini two-tailed summoning beast. Magnetic release bloodline allows you to imbue objects with magnetism, allowing you to manipulate any magnetic object. Mini two-tailed Matatabi summoning beast, a mini two-tailed summoning beast that obeys the host's commands. While only a third of its original strength, it can unleash all the abilities of the original two-tail. Upon hearing the system reward, Hyūga Teru was overjoyed. In an instant, his strength seemed to have increased. In front of him, a two-tailed cat, adorned with deep blue flames and the size of an adult dog, appeared, along with two arm-length scrolls. Unlike the real Yaotu, little Yaotu didn't bare his teeth the moment he saw him. Instead, he blinked his bright eyes curiously, examining him. "Master, I look forward to your guidance from now on." Little Yaotu crouched low, his eyes gleaming with joy, his tails lifted high. Hyūga Teru, vaguely understanding this was a cat's way of expressing joy, instinctively reached out to touch his head. A warm, fuzzy touch instantly reached over. Yaotu, seemingly utterly delighted, narrowed his eyes and allowed Hyūga Teru to caress him. "I can't believe the system can offer such a reward. From now on, I'll call you Yaotu." Little Yaotu nodded joyfully. "Yes, Master, Yaotu, you should be able to perform chakra conversion, right? That is, convert your own chakra into mine." The tailed beasts are terrifying to ordinary people, but to Hyūga Teru, they are a perfect portable power bank. Previously, he'd worried about not having enough chakra. The appearance of the two tails might solve many of these problems. Without hesitation, Matarayu offered one of its claws to Hyūga Teru. "Yes, Master. Mata will convert your chakra for you." Hyūga Teru couldn't help but grasp its claw. In the blink of an eye, the blue flames on its body emanated transparent red chakra, which slowly flowed along Hyūga Teru's hand and onto him. The red chakra enveloped Hyūga Teru, as if forming a mysterious connection with him. As he mobilized chakra, it quickly replenished where needed. After some experimentation, Hyūga Teru discovered that the chakra sheath was enough to condense 10 truth-seeking orbs. He couldn't help but become curious about Matarayu. "Mata, How much chakra did you just give me? Madaraya pondered for a moment. About 1/10. What's wrong, master? Do you want more? 1/10, so even if you use it all up, I'll only have 100. It's still not much, but it's still a good harvest. However, just as Hyūga Teru was muttering to himself, Yukito knelt quietly beside him, eagerly awaiting his words. If the master desires this, Yukito can also use it. Hyūga Teru's heart suddenly surged at Yukito's reminder. If Yukito's chakra were included, he could probably gather another 300 truth-seeking jade. He had previously utilized other abilities of the Samsara Eye. Though he hadn't been able to unleash the Golden Wheel Samsara Blast, he had already used the Silver Wheel Samsara Blast, the Truth-Seeking Jade Shuriken, and the Truth-Seeking Jade Light Cannon. He could gather about 95 Truth-Seeking Jade himself. This number of Truth-Seeking Jade could only be used once for the Silver Wheel Samsara Blast, 10 times for the Truth-Seeking Jade Shuriken, and 10 seconds for the Truth-Seeking Jade Laser Cannon. Now, using many Amatari and Yukito as power banks, he could gather 400 more Truth-Seeking Jade. This would probably allow him to last 5 times longer than before. It might still be a stretch for him to dominate all of Konoha, but it should be more than enough. 5 times the endurance was a huge temptation. His gaze towards Yukito intensified. He had to find a way to keep Yukito close by. Speaking of which, after hypnotizing Troy and Yukito, he finally understood why they had appeared so timely, specifically heading for their watchtower. Kumagakure's intelligence department had gathered information about his arrival at the watchtower days ago, seemingly mistaking him for a member of the Hyūga clan. This information was good news for Kumagakure, but for Hyūga Teru, it harbored a multitude of dark secrets. First, he was previously a member of a branch clan, and second, the Hyūga clan had already undergone its transformation, with no distinction between the main clan and branch clans. So, was Kumagakure's intelligence lagging behind, or was it a parody? Or was someone deliberately targeting him, fearing that the Hyūga clan's transformation would be discovered by other villages, so they deliberately sold Kumagakure censored, useful piece of information? Who was behind all this? Drawing on the experience of past time travelers, he pondered. When all the conspiracies and intrigues are unidentified, who is behind them? As long as I think about that man, it immediately becomes clear. I'm afraid there's no need to think too much, it was Danzo's handiwork. But Danzo probably never expected it. He was so efficient in doing this, but in fact, he was helping himself in disguise. Now, not only was he not killed, but his strength has increased 5 times. I have to say, Danzo is really a good man, I must repay him in the future. Hyūga Teru thought so in his heart. Looking at Yukito, his eyes were more possessive. This piece of meat must be eaten completely. Only by ensuring that the benefits this time are maximized can I not be intimidated by anyone in Konoha. So I still have to put more effort into her and take her completely for myself. Chapter 32, Golden Wheel Reincarnation Explosion. Boom. A deafening explosion suddenly erupted in the Konoha camp. Everyone in the camp was awakened immediately. They hurriedly picked up their ninja tool bags and prepared to face the attack. What's going on? Where did the explosion come from? Is there an enemy attack? Why is the explosion so close? My ears are almost deafened. It feels like it's right in the camp, damn it. What are the people in charge of Night Watch doing, letting the explosion go off in the camp? It was discovered that there was no enemy attack. The camp was suddenly noisy. Narayanshu, who was in the main tent, was also startled by the explosion. The horrific explosion, coupled with a vaguely felt aftermath, scared him so much that his heart almost jumped out. However, as a commander, he still tried to calm himself down and prepared to go out of the tent to inquire about the situation. But before he could step out, he saw a familiar figure carrying a person walking towards him. Master Teru? How did you end up like this? Are you injured? Narayui was astonished. Seeing Hyūga Teru's tattered clothes, he would have gone to find a medical nin if he hadn't seen any obvious injuries. Hyūga Teru waved his hand, dropping Troy from his shoulder. That Jinchuriki hit his strength. He managed to break through the acupuncture points while I wasn't paying attention, and nearly killed him. I'll go get him. You should check the camp and see if anyone's hurt. Narayui was horrified. What? The Jinchuriki got away? I'm glad you're alright. How about taking a few people after him? It's late at night, and the roads aren't very safe. However, Hyūga Teru flatly rejected the idea. No, That's the Jinchuariki. I can take care of myself, but the others can't. Come with me and chase them. If they turn around and attack, they'll be dead. Narayui had a hard time coming up with a good solution for such a thorny existence as the tailed beast. After a moment's hesitation, he agreed. Okay, then, be very careful. If we can't catch up, that's fine. Your safety is more important than anything else. Hyūga Teru patted Narayui's shoulder. Thank you for your concern. If I can catch her, I'll do my best. If there's really no other way, I'll just let her go. Narayui stared at Hyūga Teru. Then be careful. Hyūga Teru nodded. I will. As soon as they left Narayui's tent, Hyūga Teru activated his Samsara chakra mode and sprinted out of the camp. However, Narayui couldn't have anticipated that Hyūga Teru's speed would increase dramatically once he broke free, and he soon caught up with Yukido. He then picked Yukido up and rushed towards the sea. To devour Yukido, he had to contend with the scouting forces of Konoha, Kumagakure, and Akatsuki. For these three forces, the ocean was a particularly challenging place to track. So, from the outset, Hyūga Teru ran towards the sea, a journey that took several hours. Relying on Yukido's constant charging, he carried her to the beach. After purchasing a small, seaworthy boat, the two used it as a temporary home. A day and a night passed. After a long day of searching for a safe island for Yukido and Kamatari, Hyūga Teru felt a little weak. He rested quietly on Yukido's beautiful black silk stockings, letting her feed him grapes he had bought along the way to replenish his energy. Yukido had also changed into the lavender kimono she had bought along the way. Her delicate features, paired with the slim-fitting lavender kimono, made her appear exceptionally gentle, virtuous, and beautiful. The sun's warmth on her body seemed to make her lap even more comfortable. Even after she stopped being a ninja, this kind of life was wonderful. However, Hyūga Teru knew this was only temporary. He had to return to Konoha. Whether to become stronger or to protect his other bonds, he had to go back. At last, Yukido and Kamatari's safety was assured. After a day and a night of searching, he finally found several islands with pleasant environments that weren't on the nautical charts. As long as they kept shifting, no one would be able to find them. As for whether this whole effort was worth it, the answer was undoubtedly yes. While borrowing the power of Ubiquito and Madaratabi is somewhat inconvenient, it would require summoning and reverse summoning techniques to summon Ubiquito to your side. See Naruto vs. Pain for details. It's still quite helpful overall. This method provides them with significantly more chakra than simply keeping Madaratabi nearby. Furthermore, Ubiquito and Madaratabi don't necessarily need to stay on these islands. They can also sail and help Hyūga Teru explore the mysterious coastal areas. Well, rested up, time to get back to work. Hyūga Teru somersaulted, lifting himself from Ubiquito's lap. This made Ubiquito suspicious, and he immediately undressed. Sir, are you still checking? Hyūga Teru's nose flushed with blood, and he struggled to look away. Let's talk about it after I'm done. I need to test some ninjutsu now. Give me 1/3 of your chakra. Yukido had been hypnotized interpersonal made. Though somewhat inhumane, the horror of the infinite face reading had left her with after effects. So, she had to find a new way to live, temporarily relieving her pain. Of course, Hyūga Teru hadn't forgotten to heal her, giving her thorough physical examinations at regular intervals to monitor her recovery. But now was the time to test Yukido's effectiveness. Yukido didn't hesitate, immediately presenting Hyūga Teru with a thick chakra coat. Feeling her body enveloped in a flood of chakra, Hyūga Teru immediately activated her Samsara chakra mode, using gravity to levitate. Then, with her right hand in a fist, she rapidly condensed black spheres. Imbued with a blue Samsara chakra, the black spheres shot upwards and downwards at breakneck speed. A dazzling golden light suddenly pierced the trajectory of the black ball, as if Hyūga Teru wielded a golden staff that pierced the heavens. Golden wheel Tenseigan explosion. Hyūga Teru gently slashed the golden staff across the sea. The previously unshakable surface, like soft tofu, was suddenly split in two. The waters suddenly parted in both directions. In that instant, it was as if a chasm, over 3,000 kilometers deep, had been carved across the surface of the ocean. After witnessing the power of this attack, Hyūga Teru realized that his chakra sheath had completely vanished. 1/3 of Ubiquito's chakra was equivalent to the condensation of 100 truth-seeking jewels. In other words, that single strike had directly consumed 100 truth-seeking jewels. But now with Ubiquito and Kamatari, If he could use it at full power, he could probably use it 4 times. How many ninjas in the modern world could withstand a moon-shattering move 4 times? Mastering such a terrifying weapon. It can be said that Konoha is absolutely not empty. P.S. Thanks to Wang Shippen who loves to eat Dangfang sesame cakes, SCP-169 Leviathan, Madara who was heartbroken, Sisters Henshi, and Hao Shenzhen for their many rewards. Chapter 33 The Decision of the Top Management. In Konoha Village, at the Hokage building, the third Hokage, having suddenly received reports of the battle at the Thunderfire border, immediately summoned several advisors. The 4 of them reviewed the report together. Midakato and Uchiha Teru were the first to exclaim in surprise. That kid, upon reaching the border, single-handedly defeated a ninja force of 100, including Troy and the Two-Tails Jinchuriki. He is so powerful? And he glowed a sky-blue light during battle. He single-handedly defeated a 100-man force. He's probably almost as powerful as Minato, right? Midakato and Uchiha Teru, like the third Hokage, were surprised to see Hyūga Teru possess such strength. However, now that they knew of Hyūga Teru's strength, they understood why the branch family had been able to achieve such a transformation. It was likely not just because Hyūga Teru had broken the caged bird, his immense power was also crucial. However, the third Hokage's expression quickly grew serious. Let's not talk about their strength for now. The Hyūga clan at least has a bloodline like the Byakugan, so it's not surprising that they have some amazing talents. What really embarrasses me is that this kid suggested using the captured ninja as bargaining chips to exchange resources with Kumagakure. I think this is inappropriate. Before the other 2 could say anything, it was Danzo, who is always quiet, who snorted first. You're not planning to use these people to negotiate peace with Kumagakure, are you? Don't blame me for not reminding you. They don't care whether we are willing to negotiate peace or not. The Battle of Yonla-Inu has caused us a deep hatred. They've lost over 10,000 people, and they still won't negotiate peace with us. Aren't you thinking too much by pinning your hopes for peace on these 60-something people? I think it would be better to exchange these people for supplies, as this young man suggested. This will not further agitate them, and it will also weaken their strength. Danzo's words almost made the third Hokage guess everything. After all, they had worked together for decades, and even if the third Hokage just farted, he knew what he was going to say. And having guessed what was going on, the third Hokage was very embarrassed. After all, most of what he was going to say was said by Danzo, who not only said it all, but also analyzed it thoroughly and offered a contrary opinion. It was like a naked dissent. His old face was a little embarrassed. But this did not mean that he had to give in. Although only 66 people were captured this time, among them are the extremely important Two-Tails Jinchuriki and the quite prestigious Troy. You are not Kumagakure. How do you know they won't sign a peace agreement with our village because of these 2 important people? If it succeeds, it can reduce a lot of casualties. On the contrary, exchanging supplies with Kumagakure will further exacerbate the conflict and lead to more casualties. Danzo couldn't help but sneer. Releasing the enemy we've worked so hard to capture for nothing, won't it lead to even more casualties? If we treat them with kindness, we can make them give up the idea of invading the land of fire. Then why didn't Minato's letting the OB team go bring peace between the 2 countries, and what are these 100-man troops here for? Not only is Troy leading the entire team, but they also have a Two-Tails Jinchuriki among them. Is this the result of Minato's kindness? Danzo said in a sarcastic tone. The third Hokage's face turned grim. But he remained stubborn. Alright, Danzo, no matter what the consequences of my actions, it's an effort for peace, right? Peace is hard-won. How can we achieve it without giving up something? If we exchange supplies from Kumagakure, peace won't be achieved. On the contrary, it will anger everyone in Kumagakure. The next time we attack, I'm afraid there will be more than a 100-man force. Midamanen also nodded. Hirozen is right. Even if we take the supplies, we still have to use them. Besides, these few people can't be exchanged for much anyway. If we can be more assertive, killing them all directly would be better than exchanging them for supplies, but right now, we can't afford to be too assertive. A half-hearted exchange of supplies won't change anything. Instead, using these people as a bargaining chip might offer a chance for peace. Hearing Midamanen's words, Uchiha Teru agreed. Yes, exchanging these few people for supplies is just a small gain. We don't need these supplies. On the contrary, if the conflict escalates, the damage will be even greater. Seeing that the 3 had reached a consensus, Danzo suddenly felt isolated. While he felt sad that Konoha was controlled by these weak and incompetent people, he was also extremely angry. Beneath his sullen face, a rage seemed to linger. However, with his years of cultivating his spirit, he didn't let his anger fly. After suppressing his anger, he muttered coldly. After all these years, you still haven't figured out Hyūga true nature. I think you're just going backwards. If you want to use those few people to sue for peace, then go ahead. I just hope you won't regret your decision when the time comes. With that, Danzo turned and left. After all, it was already 3-1. No matter how much he talked, he couldn't change the minds of these spineless people. After all, he was stubborn, and so were they. But he wouldn't give up his ideals. Perhaps that young man could try to make contact. While exchanging Hyūga ninjas for supplies was a somewhat unwise idea, if it was based on our considerable strength, if we did it frequently enough, we could slowly weaken Hyūga, leaving them powerless to fight again. It's like boiling a frog in warm water. Thinking back on it, it seemed the little guy who had previously dismissed him might have been wrong. However, not long after he left, the third Hokage and his men received urgent news from the Thunderfire border. They were all stunned. What? The Two-Tails Jinchuriki ran away? Judging from the direction, it doesn't seem to be heading towards Hyūga. He created an escape opportunity by attacking Troy, and then fled to a place not in Hyūga. Could he be planning to defect? That's quite possible. After all, there have been cases of Jinchuriki from other villages defecting. The possibility of the Two-Tails defecting at this critical juncture is very high. The three were stunned, and a bad feeling welled up in their hearts. Uchiha and Midikato were especially impressed, as they both looked at the third Hokage with questioning eyes. The third Hokage knew what they were asking. It was simply about how to negotiate with Hyūga. Although only Troy and the remaining 64 ninja remained. Even if they were traded for supplies, it wouldn't yield much. They could only proceed with their previous decision. Let's continue to use prisoners to sue for peace, and at the same time, send some people to help Hyūga find the Two-Tails. I think they should see our sincerity, Midikato sighed. That's the only way. Uchiha nodded. I hope the people we send are reliable and can get them back as soon as possible, so the success rate of the negotiations can be higher. Chapter 34 Mizuki's Revenge. Boom. A resounding explosion, shaking the entire building, suddenly erupted in the Raikage's building. The guards tensed for a moment, then breathed a sigh of relief after hearing the Raikage's earth-shattering roar. This was the Raikage's usual style. Even if every bed and furniture in the building had been destroyed, they wouldn't have been surprised. And in the Raikage's office, Mabuai, dressed in a cardigan, with delicate makeup and a voluptuous figure, gazed resentfully at the table shattered in two on the ground. But then her gaze shifted to the dust cloud. Within the thick cloud of sawdust and dust, a massive, imposing figure, like a raging King Kong, could be seen, his chest heaving violently. His arms, as thick as barrels, were bulging with veins. It was as if smashing a table wasn't enough to vent the force within them. The Raikage had vented most of his anger, but Mabuai secretly groaned inwardly. As the secretary of the Raikage, she had to help this brawny guy from morning till night, not only handling government affairs. Occasionally, she also had to deal with his sudden outbursts of anger and replace all the furniture in the office. To prevent the Raikage from continuing to dismantle the furniture, Mabuai had to put away her inner depression and hurriedly remind him. Lord Raikage, for now, it's best to think about how to deal with this matter as soon as possible. There's no need to worry about the prisoners, but as for you kiddo, if we leave her alone for too long, something might go wrong. The Raikage glared at Mabuai with his big eyes. Yukito is fine. I believe she won't defect. I think something might have happened. We can send a team to follow Killer Bee to find her. As for Konoha, those softies wouldn't dare to hold our people hostage. Tell the young people in the village to intensify their training. Come with me to pick them up in a few days. Mabuai breathed a sigh of relief, feeling a little comforted. Although the Raikage's penchant for tearing up furniture further strained the village's already limited funds, the Fourth Raikage's demeanor and approach still gave people a sense of security. He was probably angry about smashing the table. Over 30 more people had died in the village. Although the villagers were belligerent, the Raikage cared more about the villagers' safety than anyone else. This was also the reason for the village's strong unity. After confirming that the Raikage was no longer angry and wanted to smash things, Mabuai squatted on the ground and began drafting various documents, putting the Raikage's arrangements into writing. At this time, at the border of thunder and fire, in the Konoha camp, Hyūga Teru had already returned to the camp. After handing over the mission status, he retreated to his tent, claiming fatigue. However, shortly after he lay down, a shadow clone beside him, with his Byakugan open, immediately informed him of the situation. The shadow clone immediately dissipated, and Hyūga Teru pretended to sleep. Soon, a soft sound slowly entered the tent. A tightly wrapped figure in black quietly entered. Suddenly, several crackling sounds echoed through the air. In the blink of an eye, Hyūga Teru arrived in front of the black figure, his fingers flicking and tapping the black-clad figure. Caught off guard, the figure collapsed instantly. In that brief moment, Hyūga Teru grabbed her from behind and removed her mask. Her long golden hair flowed gracefully, and her slender figure formed a hazy S-curve in the moonlight. Is it a woman? Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Before Hyūga Teru could get any information from the woman, countless kunes suddenly flew out from outside, each carrying a dazzling yellow glow. It was the light of a detonating talisman. At such a fast speed and such a close distance, it was unlikely anyone could dodge. Realizing this, Hyūga Teru immediately activated his Tenseigan chakra mode. Instantly, he condensed a truth-seeking jade, then manipulated it into a spherical barrier. Boom boom boom. Several detonating tags exploded simultaneously, engulfing the entire tent in an instant. The flames stretched for dozens of meters, comparable to the combined power of several A-rank fire styles. However, a blue figure quickly emerged from the flames, darting in one direction like a stream of light. Tisk tisk. I never thought there were so many people in this camp who wanted to kill me. Seeing the attacker who had just thrown the shuriken so brazenly walk into a tent, Hyūga Teru couldn't help but sigh in admiration. But this was also a good thing. It dealt with the surrounding instability, allowing for more peace of mind in the future. Without hesitation, Hyūga Teru rushed into the tent and subdued the two occupants. Two people were sleeping in the tent, but regardless of whether the other person was an accomplice, he now considered a suspect. However, the light shone on their faces, and the sight of their appearance startled him. One of them had aquamarine hair, and upon being apprehended, he began to complain about the man next to him, asking why he had gone out to cause trouble. The other person hadn't paid much attention before, but after seeing the pineapple hair and the scar on his nose, Hyūga Teru seemed to have a clue. What's your name? Iruka blinked in confusion. My name is Iruka. Do you know me, sir? Hyūga Teru shook his head, his gaze shifting to the other blue-haired ninja. Could his name be Mizuki? Speaking of which, I heard he slandered me while I was away fighting. And now it seems he hasn't changed his ways. Mizuki gritted his teeth and lowered his head, his long blue hair obscuring his current expression. Iruka, still confused, looked at Mizuki with confusion. Mizuki, are you slandering sir again? Mizuki trembled slightly, but a wolfish grin lingered. Oh, I should have known it wouldn't be possible to hide it under the Byakugan. But how could I possibly slander him? I was only going to assassinate him. Iruka was astonished. Why, Mizuki, didn't you say you'd already admitted your mistake? Why haven't you? You've actually gotten worse. Before Mizuki could reply, Hyūga Teru pulled out a forward protector and tossed it to Iruka. Seeing the code on the back of the forward protector, Iruka's eyes widened. Isn't this my forward protector? How did it end up in your hands, sir? Hyūga Teru crouched down and pointed at Mizuki. Then you'll have to ask him. Your good friend not only assassinated me, but also threw your forward protector away on the road. If I were truly dead, all the clues would probably lead to you. I can't believe you'd even share a tent with him. Iruka was stunned, his worldview overturned, and tears streamed down his face. Why? Mizuki, why would you do that? But instead of looking remorseful, Mizuki's expression only grew more sinister. You look so disgusting. You discovered that I was slandering him before. Why did you point it out? If you didn't point it out, how would others have noticed it? Everything is your fault, okay? You made me like this, okay? If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 35, Infinite Face Reading in Full Strength. Snap. A crisp slapping sound suddenly rang out. A red palm print had appeared on Mizuki's cheek, and a trace of blood oozed from the corner of his mouth. He looked shocked, as if he hadn't expected to be hit. However, it wasn't Iruka who struck him, but Hyūga Teru, who had already folded his arms. I understand that you slandered me out of jealousy, and you want to get away with it by blaming Iruka for my death, but you're so desperate now, it's really unbearable. My assassination attempt has been confirmed, and you face an endless prison sentence. Revenge on Iruka should be the last thing you can do before that happens, right? Mizuki's face darkened with rage after his plan was exposed. His limp body trembled violently, his teeth grinding as if he were determined to devour Hyūga Teru alive. However, the people around him had already gathered, and upon hearing what Hyūga Teru had said, they immediately understood what had happened. They began to accuse Mizuki. I never thought Mizuki was such a person. He's truly despicable. Yeah, if it weren't for Lord Teru's strength, he might have killed us. It's a good thing Lord Teru caught him now, otherwise he might have killed even more people. The barrage of accusations made Mizuki's face turn red and blue. Suddenly, he struggled to his feet, revealing the pitch-black kunai at his waist. Bang! Before Mizuki could even pierce Hyūga Teru, he was instantly sent flying. He spat out a mouthful of blood, looking utterly miserable. But upon landing, he angrily scolded Hyūga Teru. Assassin, if you dare, kill me. At this moment, Narayui squeezed into the crowd, saw the situation, and immediately rushed to Hyūga Teru's side. Lord Teru, what happened here? Hyūga Teru smiled and waved his hand. Nothing, he just tried to assassinate me but failed, and I caught him. Now, mad as hell, he wants me to kill him. Assassinate? Narayui was extremely shocked. After looking at Mizuki angrily, he turned his gaze to Hyūga Teru. Then, sir, how do you want us to deal with him? If you need it, we can help you vent your anger. Hyūga Teru shook his head. I don't need you to help me with anything, I can do it myself. Go and arrange for a few medical ninjas to come over, in case he dies. Medical ninjas? Narayui was surprised. Sir, you'd better be careful. If you really kill him, it will be detrimental to your future development. Hyūga Teru probably understood what he meant and patted his shoulder. I know, don't worry, I know my limits. It just makes him uncomfortable. Really? Narayui was curious. Staring at Hyūga Teru, he slowly approached Mizuki. Hyūga Teru squatted down and patted Mizuki's cheek. I don't even bother to care about a small person like you. But you are looking for trouble yourself, so you can't blame me. Mizuki smiled miserably. What? Are you so mad you want to kill me? Come on. If I don't die, I'll continue to retaliate against you later. Faced with this naked threat, Hyūga Teru's heart was filled with emotion. This supporting villain, who had also gone berserk in the original novel, seemed to have been driven mad by him now. It was truly unexpected. However, if he wasn't taught a lesson, it might indeed become a minor problem. At this thought, Hyūga Teru smiled. Killing you would dirty my hands, but I'll let you experience another kind of life worse than death. I just hope you can bear it. Mizuki snorted coldly. So what if it's worse than death? You think you can scare me? Hyūga Teru's smile was kind, and his azure eyes suddenly shone. Continuing to be stubborn won't save you. Better experience it. God-level illusion. Infinite face reading. A surge of samsara chakra suddenly poured into Mizuki's body. His eyes instantly glazed over. But after the medical ninja arrived, his eyes suddenly seemed to pop out, his face contorted to the extreme. Mizuki's screams, accompanied by waves of uncontrollable vomiting, made him appear incredibly strange. His vomiting wasn't just dry heaves, he was actually throwing up large amounts of food. The whole place was instantly filled with a foul odor, but he continued to vomit. It was as if his stomach had been simmering with nausea for thousands of years, even vomiting acid. Even more bizarre was the constant gushing from his back. The frequency was almost identical to the vomiting. It perfectly embodied the term vomiting and diarrhea. With each vomiting, a stream of foul-smelling yellow water gushed out from his back. His body continued to spasm until he could vomit nothing more. It was a bizarre and horrific reaction. The surrounding people felt sick to their stomachs, and their anus suddenly tightened. Sir, what the hell is going on? This illusion is too terrifying. Even the medical ninjas don't dare approach him. If this continues, he'll probably die. Narayui's face turned pale, and he almost didn't dare look at Mizuki. Hyūga Teru couldn't bear to look at Mizuki either. After all, this was the first time he had used the infinite face reading at full power, and even he was shocked. After a moment's thought, he gave the order. How about this, Yui? Quickly find someone who can use lightning release. Have him increase his charge gradually, paralyzing Mizuki. That should stop him, and maybe that'll stop him. Narayui's eyes suddenly lit up, and he nodded quickly. Okay, sir, I'll go find him right away. Narayui went to work, and Hyūga Teru prepared to leave. But noticing Iruka's distraught look, he frowned. By the way, Iruka, you don't really think Mizuki's current condition is inextricably linked to you, do you? Iruka rubbed his eyes blankly, looking at Hyūga Teru with a bitter face. I feel a little guilty, but Mizuki is still my childhood friend. Seeing him like this is hard for me. Hyūga Teru suddenly realized and patted his shoulder. But if I die and no one exposes this, you'll be the one who suffers. You're quite kind-hearted, but it's not a bad thing. I think you should become a teacher. That way you can really use your strengths. After all, it was Iruka who first set Naruto on the right path. If Iruka were to become a teacher now, maybe things would be better than the original story. Iruka blinked, curious. Sir, can you see through people's hearts? I do want to be a teacher, but I've never had the confidence. Hyūga Teru smiled. That's fine if you want to think so. Now, gather yourself and do your job well. After returning to the village, prepare to become a teacher. Iruka's eyes suddenly lit up. Thank you for your encouragement, sir. I will work hard towards my goal. Chapter 36 The opening of the second check-in station. After dealing with Mizuki's attack, Hyūga Teru immediately headed back. Using his Byakugan's perceptive eyes, he quickly located the shadow clone and the woman. The woman had a bit of bad luck. She'd barely made it to her tent when Mizuki attacked her. Rather than an assassin, she was more of a spy, perhaps hoping to extract something from him. She hadn't emanated any murderous intent when she entered the tent, and perhaps that's why she was so quickly subdued. She probably hadn't anticipated his vigilance, or the fact that he'd stationed a shadow clone inside the tent to keep watch. Perhaps his strength was too great, forcing her to resist and be subdued. Whether she had any murderous intent was unclear. Hyūga Teru quickly reached the woman. She was securely tied behind a secluded tree, her mouth gagged with cotton, staring intently at the shadow clone. Upon noticing Hyūga Teru's return, the shadow clone dissipated into smoke, returning all its memories of the mysterious woman to Hyūga Teru's mind. It turned out this woman wasn't some assassin or spy, but someone sent by the root. So why was Danzo looking for him? Filled with curiosity, he approached the woman, bound in a strange way, firmly yet beautifully. Hyūga reached out and pulled a cotton cloth from her mouth. Let me go. The woman's words were filled with anger. Hyūga looked at her strangely. I heard you were sent by the root. Do you have any evidence? The woman immediately stuck out her tongue, revealing a dark, circular pattern, and then said angrily. There's another piece of evidence in the envelope in my arms, but I want to get it myself. Let me go. Hyūga, unfazed by any tricks, tore the ropes apart. The woman relaxed her grip and immediately pulled out the envelope, still emitting a faint warmth. Her cheeks flushed as she did so, but she remained calm. Seeing her shy expression, Hyūga's thoughts quickened. He took a look at the woman, who had a soft and beautiful face and a uniquely mature charm. He then slowly brought the envelope to his nose. I heard that those from the root never had a past or a future. You wouldn't mind if I smelled it, would you? The woman suddenly exploded, staring intently at Hyūga Teru and quickly stopping him. You pervert, if you dare do that, disregarding the leader's instructions, I will kill you. Hyūga Teru smiled, but still brought the envelope to his nose and sniffed deeply. Tisk, a faint scent. Do you usually hide things here, asshole? I'll kill you. The woman immediately attacked in a rage, but her physical skills were no match for Hyūga Teru's, and her acupuncture points were sealed. The moment she attacked, she was subdued. Her entire body was tightly pressed, unable to make any other movement. I never thought someone as impulsive as you could become a root member. I'm starting to doubt your authenticity. I feel the need to examine you more closely. Hyūga's hands were now firmly grasped by the woman's, and her legs were pinned down. Hyūga's free hand restlessly began to explore her body. The woman panicked and pleaded. Don't do it. Can't you just check the letter first? I'm almost out of the root. Besides, the leader said we weren't going to engage the enemy. And I didn't expect you to be so wary. Oh, Hyūga paused, curious. How can I leave the root after joining it? Doesn't that sound strange? What's your name? Seeing Hyūga's pause, the woman quickly thought of a pseudonym. My name is Nano, but if you try to touch me again, I'll tell the leader about you. Hyūga's eyebrows rose, Realizing that this woman seemed difficult to deal with, he let go of her and stood up. Although there's nothing in this world I fear, you're not here to kill me. And I have an important message to deliver, so I'll let you go for now, but if I find out what you're saying is false, I won't be polite anymore. I never waste a woman like you. Nano unabashedly gave Hyūga Teru a look of disdain, a look of perverted disdain. Hyūga Teru, increasingly shameless, ignored it and read the letter carefully. The letter was quite long. It outlined how the third Hokage had rejected his request and had vainly attempted to release the Kumagakure ninja he had captured. As if speaking to one of his own, Danzo unabashedly disdained the third Hokage, analyzing the foolishness of his actions. He also praised Hyūga Teru, shared his inner thoughts, and expressed his goodwill towards him. The letter's content could be summarized as follows: he knew the root needed someone like him. He asked Hyūga Teru if he was interested in joining the root. Once upon a time, Hyūga Teru had considered accepting the Will of Fire's brainwashing and becoming its successor. But who would have thought the Will of Fire would look down on me? On the contrary, that sinister Danzo praised me highly. Hyūga Teru didn't know what to say. The second sign-in base, Kumagakure, has opened. Please sign in as soon as possible. First sign-in rewards are great. Hyūga Teru's mouth watered at the system notification tone. The first time he signed in at the Uchiha, he was given the Samsara Eye. Now that the Kumagakure base is open, the first sign-in rewards should be pretty good too, right? But why did the second sign-in base appear? Was it because it was triggered? Hyūga Teru pondered, feeling that it was likely that the system wanted him to join the root, or perhaps because the conditions weren't already in place to achieve this goal. But no matter what, the key to achieving this goal was undoubtedly the root. Ahem, Miss Nano, what are the conditions for joining your root? Can we join just because we want to? Nano raised her chin slightly and spoke proudly. Of course not. If you want to join, you must guarantee your loyalty to the leader, either carve the tongue trouble mark on your tongue like I did, or hand over your handle to the leader, such as assassinating high-ranking officials of other villages. Oh, Hyūga Teru suddenly became interested. As long as you have assassinated high-ranking officials of other villages, you can join the root. Isn't it a bit too convenient? Assassinating high-ranking officials of other villages is convenient? This kid is really arrogant. No wonder that old sinister man gave her a lot of authority to kill Hyūga Teru. Nana said very unhappily. Assassinating high-ranking officials of other villages is not easy. If you are not careful, you may be surrounded by many enemy ninjas. Few of the leader's men have accomplished this. I advise you to be honest and carve the tongue trouble mark. Chapter 37 The Walking Witch. After hearing Nana's suggestion, Hyūga Teru looked relaxed. Just because others can't do it doesn't mean I can't do it. But will I go on the assassination alone, or will there be someone assisting me? Nana was very surprised by Hyūga Teru's decision. But knowing that Hyūga Teru was a bit stubborn, he was not surprised. Since you chose to assassinate high-ranking officials from other countries to join the root, you are prepared to sacrifice for Konoha? Although our organization doesn't encourage people like you, we still admire them very much. Regardless of whether you can complete the tasks assigned by the leader, you will be a hero of Konoha, so you won't carry out a mission alone. There will be special intelligence personnel assigned to give you detailed information about the mission. Really? Hyūga Teru smiled brightly, but it seemed a little strange. It felt like this Nano was a bit passionate when he talked about this. When did the root become so passionate? Could it be that Danzo took in? Or did Danzo see through his personality and think he'd be easy to fool? If so, then perhaps Danzo thought he was a tough guy and simply wanted to exploit him? He'd arranged such righteous requirements for joining the organization. Thinking about it, it seemed quite possible. But it didn't matter anyway. After all, he still had to go to Kumagakure. And maybe he'd have to visit other villages later. Joining the root seemed much more convenient. With this in mind, Hyūga Teru said seriously. Then please assign me a qualified intelligence officer, preferably one more professional than you. It was a serious and reasonable statement. But after hearing the whole thing, Nana was furious. She was Yakushi Nono. She had been working in espionage for over a decade, known as the Walking Witch, and recognized as the strongest spy in the root. And yet, she was being underestimated by a newcomer. While Hyūga Teru was certainly powerful, if it weren't for the many factors that affected her, she wouldn't have been able to withstand his attacks and be instantly subdued. Facing Hyūga Teru's repeated belittling, Nana was Nono felt she had to teach this newcomer a lesson and become his assistant in all his future operations. Not only was it a response to his previous perverted behavior, but also because assistants only needed to assist from the sidelines, carrying much less risk than those carrying out the mission. Before Danzo agreed to let her leave the route, it was a perfect job. So even though Hyūga Teru had clearly stated he didn't want her, she insisted on being his assistant. Thinking of this, Nono's expression grew more serious. I will report your proposal to the leader, but the decision on who will support you is his, and I have no say in it. As for the time of operation, it will probably be after Hyūga retrieves the prisoners. If there are no other issues, I'll leave first. Hyūga Teru suddenly stepped closer, grasped her chin, and stared at her. I find it a bit strange. Your temperament keeps changing. Which one is you? Is it because you've been doing espionage work for a long time and need to constantly disguise yourself? Hyūga's handsome face was so close, and the heat of his breath hid her, making her lose consciousness for a moment. But when she thought of this man's previous perverted behavior, Nono immediately broke free from his grip, her tone becoming extremely cold. Don't touch me anymore. And don't ask questions you shouldn't. This has nothing to do with you. With that, she turned and was about to leave. But before she could leave, Hyūga grabbed her again. What are you trying to do? Do you want to keep me here? After being teased so many times, Nono's anger reached its peak. However, Hyūga simply tapped her a few times, and her stagnant chakra resumed its smooth flow. I was just trying to unblock your acupuncture points, but I have a feeling, this might be the real you. Though you're covered in thorns and keep others away, your beauty warrants such a temper. Nono stared at Hyūga Teru with continued irritation, forcefully shaking off his grip. Don't think I'll be grateful just because you unblocked my acupuncture points. With a huff, Nono was about to leave. Hey, Nono, but before Nono could take a few steps, Hyūga Teru called out again. Nono shot her an annoyed glare. Are you done yet? Can't you just say it all at once? Hyūga Teru smiled. Are there plenty of beautiful women like you at the root? If so, could Mr. Danzo arrange a few for me? You pervert, you wish. Even if there are, I won't. Nono turned and walked away angrily, wiping her hands repeatedly with a handkerchief she carried. It was as if the place just touched was poisonous. Looking at Nono's actions, Hyūga Teru was laughing with joy. This woman seems quite interesting, but I wonder if I can meet her again next time. She lay quietly in the watchtower for 3 days. The Hyūga troops finally arrived. It was just a dark mass, which made the 100 ninjas who were temporarily added to the watchtower panic. Hyūga Teru, who is already regarded as the backbone by all the ninjas, was playing shaji with an old man who often squinted his eyes and wore brown linen clothes. He used stones as chess pieces and played shaji on a very simple stone chessboard. He felt a huge vibration on the ground. Hyūga Teru glanced in the direction of the Hyūga troops and pretended to show a solemn expression. Oh, I might be able to win this game, but now it seems I can't play chess peacefully anymore. Senior Guji, let's pack up and run. Guji smiled. Young man, stop joking. You've lost over 30 games to me these past few days, and you haven't won a single one. If you think you can win, there's no harm in continuing. Although Hyūga is outnumbered, we've also deployed a number of experts, so we shouldn't have any problems. Indeed, they've deployed a number of experts these days. But the overall number of ninjas is still pitifully small. However, the rear-line forces are increasingly active, and it's likely that Guji's reliance on them is coming from there. Honestly, it's hard to tell what this third Dai's right-hand man is planning when he comes to the border. He's been deliberately leaning against him for 3 days, and the old man hasn't revealed a single thing. Shouldn't the third Dai appreciate him? At the very least, offer some encouragement? Hyūga Teru muttered inwardly, but a smile remained on the surface. You're quite composed, old man. With your mindset and rich combat experience, becoming a chunin shouldn't be a problem, right? Guji shook his head quickly. Old man, I'm just a Jinan. I'll never be a chunin in my lifetime. And my old bones can only support me to complete Jinan missions to barely make a living. Hyūga Teru was speechless when he heard this. This old man never stops pretending. He seems to be even more pretentious than Nono, who came a few days ago. Could this guy be a veteran actor? Chapter 38, Fierce Battle with the Raikage. Master Wei, it's the Fourth Raikage, coming with nearly 300 ninjas who look quite powerful. What should we do? Narayui hurried over and asked. Hyūga Wei looked at Guji as if he didn't care at all. This senior said that you can rest assured and you don't have to be so nervous. Just do what you need to do. This senior, Narayui, looked at the harmless Guji with suspicion. Is this senior an expert sent by the village? If so, then I will continue to maintain order. However, Guji suddenly became anxious and hurriedly called out to Narayui. Sir, don't leave. I'm not a master, just an ordinary Jinan. It's only because I've heard of Lord Teru's deeds that I'm so confident in this outpost. The Fourth Raikage is here. Why don't we leave the prisoners behind and retreat quickly? I don't think I could withstand a single roar from the Raikage. I'd probably be frightened to death. Guji suddenly began pounding his heart, his face terrified, as if he were about to die of fear. This exquisite acting skill, like a face-changing technique, truly shocked Hyūga Teru. And an ordinary Jinan. I wouldn't trust you. Narayui looked at Hyūga Teru suspiciously. What do you think, Lord Teru? I think this old man has a point. Hyūga Teru nodded slightly. I think it makes sense too. You should all withdraw, and let me stay alone to guard these prisoners. Alone? Guji was the first to express his surprise. Then, with a serious expression, he offered soothing words. Young man, that's the Fourth Raikage. Even if he's young, he's still the Raikage. And there are over 300 ninja following him. Are you sure you want to stay? Hyūga Teru said nonchalantly. Of course. I've heard that powerful people can take on 10,000. I've tried one against 100, but I haven't tried one against 300. If you leave, you won't have that chance again. You better leave quickly, or you'll get in my way. Hearing Hyūga Teru's words, Narayui and Kosuke exchanged bewildered glances. Although Narayui felt a little restless, feeling that this might be the nature of a powerful being, he couldn't help but worry about something going wrong. Kosuke's expression was even more complex, and he breathed a sigh of relief. Young man, this is no joke. Taking on 10,000 was a last resort for the Third Raikage, not the standard of a powerful person. Old man, I think you're so young, you probably still have a lot of room to grow. It's best to know when to advance and retreat now, Narayui agreed. Yes, Master Wei. With your talent, you might reach the level of the Yondaime in the future. There's no need to risk your life so soon, Ling. The Fourth Raikage will arrive in 3 minutes. Congratulations to the host for defeating the Fourth Raikage. Defeat the Fourth Raikage, battle and defeat the Fourth Raikage to receive a mysterious reward. Hyūga Wei, who had been planning to retreat, lost all thoughts after hearing the system's voice. His gaze became resolute. Alright, I've decided to stay. You'd better retreat quickly, or it will be too late. How could the two of them agree? But after another round of arguing, Narayui finally gathered everyone and retreated. Kosuke, who would have been frightened to death, stayed behind. Knowing how powerful Kosuke was, Hyūga Wei didn't pay much attention to the matter. The two of them led the 65 prisoners to the front of the watchtower. After finishing all this, the two men leisurely continued playing chess atop the watchtower. At that moment, the Fourth Raikage, exhausted, rushed to the front of the watchtower with his men. Seeing the tightly bound ninjas from his village placed in front of the tower, he frowned and ordered his men to slow down. The more resourceful members of the team immediately began to speculate. After a moment's observation, they noticed that the two men playing chess at the top were dropping the pieces at a leisurely pace, as if they weren't worried about an attack from their group. There was definitely something fishy going on. After a complex series of speculations, it turned out to be the Fourth Raikage, who had arrived alone. Arriving at the watchtower, he shouted, "What are you Konoha guys up to? Do you have an ambush nearby, or are you tying detonating tags to them?" The Fourth Raikage's gruff voice rang out, and Hyūga Teru and Kosuke stopped playing. But what was the Fourth Raikage's speculation all about? Could it be that he saw the two men playing chess so leisurely and sensed something was amiss? Had they invisibly pulled off a Naruto version of the empty city strategy? At this thought, Hyūga Teru suddenly had an idea, and from his perch on the watchtower, he looked down at AI. I never thought even the mighty Fourth Raikage would be afraid. If you don't dare to take them back, you'd better get lost. What? You dare to underestimate me? I'll smash your broken tower to pieces. The Fourth Raikage was instantly enraged, a violent surge of lightning surging from his body. The surging lightning shattered the ground. However, Hyūga Teru remained calm, speaking casually. As the Kage of a village, you're so impulsive. You're still a bit young for a Raikage. If you're not afraid of getting them involved, then go ahead and attack the tower. AI paused as he was about to take a step, his clenched fists cracking. What do you want? Kid, are you going to let them go or not? Just say it now. However, to AI's surprise, Hyūga Teru leaped from the watchtower, his sky blue robe suddenly condensing. A puff of dust rose, and in the blink of an eye, he was in front of AI. If you want to bring them back, challenge me to a duel. AI stared at Hyūga Teru in surprise. I didn't expect Konoha to have someone as belligerent as you. You look like the blue flash that's become so famous lately, right? If I defeat you, will I be able to bring them back safely? Blue flash, Hyūga Teru muttered in surprise, then replied nonchalantly. Although the name is strange, it's not bad, but you have to understand one thing, you can't bring them back if you defeat me, you can only bring them back if you fight me. AI glared at him. Isn't that the same thing? Do you really think you can defeat me? Hyūga Teru smiled. I never thought you could win. Don't get so cocky, or you'll lose miserably. How arrogant. I'll tear you apart, the Raikage roared, shattering the ground with his footsteps, launching himself towards Hyūga Teru like a cannonball. His fist, the size of a sandbag, slammed down with a force so devastating it made the air crackle wherever it passed. To meet him, Hyūga Teru raised his limp hand. Repulsion, a buzzing sound echoed through the air, and the energy flowing from AI's fist suddenly froze. Chapter 39 The Nightmare of the Raikage. Bang! AI, whose body was instantly frozen, flew backward like a kite with a broken string. Dozens of meters away, a deep crater with a diameter of over 10 meters was created. However, unlike those who had been hit before, AI seemed to be fine. He dusted himself off and stood up like a tower. This surprised Hokage, who had been watching from the side. He was able to take such a powerful Bagua. Kwangzang and still remain unscathed. It seems that the young Raikage's strength is much stronger than before, Hokage muttered, thinking that the repulsive force was the Bagua. Kwangzang, and then looked at Hyūga Teru with a serious expression. It seems that it will be extremely difficult for this young man to deal with the Raikage. I wonder if he has other means. Otherwise, I will have to take action at this time. AI stretched his limbs, and his fear of Hyūga Teru was much less, and there was a hint of disdain in his eyes. Young man, such a move won't harm me, if there's nothing stronger, I'll take the victory. AI stomped his foot down onto the ground, his body instantly shooting outward. Hyūga Teru remained composed, motionless. It's a little premature to claim victory now. You'd better be careful. Seeing Hyūga Teru raise his hand limply, as if about to repeat his old trick, the Raikage couldn't help but sneer. Better inflict a wound first, you brat. The nearby Hyūga Teru ninjas, hearing their conversation, couldn't help but sneer. That blue flash is ridiculous. I thought it was powerful, but now it seems it only knows one move. The same move always fails the second time, and this brat actually dares to use it. He's probably at his wit's end, right? Facing our Lord Raikage, it's only natural to be at his wit's end, isn't it? Just as the Hyūga Teru ninjas were rising in spirits, AI also approached Hyūga Teru, the surging lightning from his body frantically converging towards his legs, his speed suddenly increasing. Righteous Thunder Axe, AI, like a flash of blue light, appeared before Hyūga Teru in the blink of an eye. He leaped high into the air, his legs raised high above him. His thick, heavy thighs slashed down from top to bottom like a giant axe. This created a tremendous gust of wind, and the resulting air pressure even caused the ground Hyūga Teru stood on to suddenly collapse. Repulsion, bang! The airflow generated by the immense repulsive force collided with a powerful wind from AI's attack, exploding with a resounding explosion like a bomb from the center. Although Hyūga Teru was knocked back a few steps by the shockwave, AI flew even higher this time, landing heavily on the ground. He remained unscathed, though his clothes were slightly torn. As he stood up again, ready to fight again, Hyūga Teru appeared before him like a ghost. However, AI showed no fear, but instead a look of excitement. He swiftly half-flexed his arm, the lightning on his body suddenly gathering at his elbow. Come on, boy, give me a taste of that heavy flow. AI took a step forward, his elbow blasting out like a cannonball, like a human tank charging down. It's heavy flow. There's no way to dodge it at such close range. That kid's dead. A single strike from heavy flow can shatter rocks as big as millstones. This kid's ribs are broken if he doesn't die. This kid's just trying to get close enough. It looks like the outcome is already decided. The Hyūga Teru ninjas cheered for the Raikage again, as if they had foreseen victory. Kosuke's expression was utterly solemn. He wanted to rush to Hyūga Teru, but then he regretted it was too late. Even with his extraordinary ability to teleport, he couldn't save Hyūga Teru instantly from such a distance. That kid is such a jerk. Could he have used Bagua Kong's hang to drain the Raikage's energy a few more times? He had to get close, and at such close, but before Guji could finish his lament, a flash of blue light appeared. Ai froze in front of Hyūga Teru, his eyes fixed blankly, the surging lightning completely dissipating. Within the noodle reading space, Ai didn't even have time to react. Noodles swarmed around him from all directions, instantly binding him tightly. Damn it! What kind of illusion is this? Why can't I break it? Just as Ai was at his wit's end, furious, noodles from all directions, perfectly sized to squeeze through his mouth, nose, and other orifices, forced their way in. Jerk, it hurts, it hurts, it hurts. Ai, suddenly overwhelmed by the noodles, screamed in pain. Even though he usually ate and drank like a stone, never uttering a sound, now tears and snot streamed down his face. He had never imagined that being attacked in such a place would cause him to lose his composure to such an extent. Time in the face-reading dimension flows at a different rate than in the outside world, and 7 days and 7 nights had already passed. When Ai regained consciousness, only a moment had passed. Upon catching sight of Hyūga Teru, Ai's rage surged, and he wanted to smash him into pulp. But suddenly, as if tortured by the face-reading dimension, his iron-like body reacted violently. Ouch! It hurts so much, it hurts, ugh. It was similar to Mizuki's reaction, but Ai seemed to have been fed more and better. The substance pouring out was copious and rich. Mizuki's was a thin, watery soup, while Ai's was a thick, yellow slurry, gushing out like a spring, seemingly threatening to soar into the sky. What's wrong with Raikage-sama? Raikage-sama is... Ugh, what the hell did that guy do? How could Raikage-sama... Ugh, Raikage-sama... How could you be like this? Ugh, this can't be true. Ugh. The Kumagakure ninjas were heartbroken. Though nauseous to the point of vomiting, they stared intently at Ai, who had collapsed on the ground, slumped in the yellow mud. It was as if Ai had emptied out a lifetime's worth of stomach and intestines, continuously gushing out clear water. He lay like a dead pig, his once brown skin and face paling considerably. What the hell is going on? Is this stimulating a special acupuncture point? That move is too terrifying. If I were to encounter it, I wouldn't last more than a few seconds. Kosuke stared at the Raikage with a pale face, his scalp tingling with disgust, and a hint of fear lingered as he looked at Hyūga Teru. After completing all this, Hyūga Teru left Ai early, awaiting the system notification. Ling. Completed the check-in for defeating the Fourth Raikage. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the God-level lightning armor. God-level lightning armor, defense can withstand a single kick from Yage, speed surpassing Minato's peak speed, no damage to the body after use, and 5 chakras can be maintained for 1 minute. Note, 1 chakra equals the full chakra of 1 Kakashi. Chapter 40, Raikage Secretary Mabu. Oh my god. Is defeating the Raikage that profitable? God-level lightning armor. He can withstand a Yage attack without dying, and he's even faster than Minato. What's the point? From the 51st year of Konoha to the 63rd year of Konoha, there hasn't been a Yage to rival him, right? So, once he activates the God-level lightning armor, he'll be completely invincible in terms of physical skills. And even faster than Minato, even just a fraction, that's still astonishing speed. I guess once he activates the God-level lightning armor, no one in the world can surpass him in terms of speed. And such a powerful technique, without even a single side effect. If Emperor Kai, who traded 1 for 1, knew about this, he'd probably cry out that his youth is gone. As for using 5 chakras per minute, it's not a particularly significant drain. While he doesn't have the chakra of 100 Kakashis like Naruto, Hyūga Teru has the chakra of 25 Kakashis. 25 Kakashis, though, can only last 5 minutes. But if you add Jubakudo and Kamatari, that's 25 minutes. 25 minutes of endurance, who else could possibly last? Hyūga Teru, who had been calm, suddenly curled his lips wildly. Seeing this, Kosuke, who had suddenly arrived, felt a chill run down his spine and wanted to run away. Senior, why are you running? Am I more terrifying than the Raikage, who could scare you to death? Catching sight of Kosuke, Hyūga Teru immediately called out. Kosuke froze, his body frozen as he turned around and grinned blankly. No, didn't you defeat the Raikage? I came to congratulate you. Oh, senior, We're so close, it's really polite of you to come all the way here. Why not just cook a few more pots of meat tonight? You're being so polite. Kasuke nodded obediently, like an elementary school student. Yes, I'll go hunt a wild boar in the forest and celebrate tonight. Somehow, Kasuke vanished in a gust of wind. The speed was even faster than the Fourth Raikage. This left Hyūga Teru bewildered. However, the woman who walked behind Hyūga Teru was stunned with shock. Even the seemingly ordinary old man disappeared at a speed comparable to the Fourth Raikage. Could there be even more terrifying masters hiding around? Hey, who are you? Are you trying to take these people back? Noticing the movement behind him, Hyūga Teru turned to look. He saw a surprisingly beautiful white-haired woman with dark skin and a hint of pink standing still. She had aqua blue eyes and small, pale pink lips. The dark green cardigan seemed unable to conceal her two plump breasts, shrouded in the fishnet fabric. In short, she had a stunning figure, the kind that would make anyone want to be tempted at first sight. Although the woman was extremely surprised by Hyūga Teru's question, she still dared not neglect and lowered her head to answer. Yes, Mr. Teru, I'm the secretary of Lord Raikage. My name is Mabu. It's Mabu, Hyūga Teru muttered, remembering that such a person did exist in the original work. But when he saw her in person, he felt that she was even sexier than in the anime. Sir, do you know me? Mabu blinked curiously and began to glance at Hyūga Teru. Hyūga Teru smiled and walked closer to Mabu, closing the distance to almost half a step. I'm not particularly familiar with you, but if you want to save your companions, it won't be as easy as before. Mabu trembled slightly, naturally knowing how big their disadvantage was at the moment. She looked at Hyūga Teru with fear and persistence. Then, sir, what do you want? If we can, we'll do our best to satisfy you. Oh? I just finished a fight, and I'm still a little hot. Can you help me cool down? Chill out. Mabu was confused. How do you want me to cool down? We don't have ice. Can you have some water? I can even fan you if you need anything else. But in the blink of an eye, Hyūga Teru's finger lifted her chin, and his handsome face moved closer. It's not easy for me to cool down. We have water in the watchtower, but that won't put out the root of the problem. But if a beautiful woman like you can help, it should address the root cause. Their gestures suddenly became ambiguous. Although she felt Hyūga Teru was being inhumane, Konoha wasn't without its inhumane people. It was possible to encounter a shameless one. But the thought of this made her feel even more sad. The Raikage's defeat had a significant impact on morale, even if they had the advantage in numbers. But facing a team led by Hyūga Teru, they'd probably be as fragile as a chicken or a dog. The more Mabu thought about it, the sadder she became, the more she felt despair. Unconsciously, tears welled up in her eyes. But as a woman from the Hidden Cloud Village, and even more so as the Raikage's secretary, she could still make the right choice in the crucial moment. Sacrificing herself to save so many was worth it no matter how you looked at it. Besides, this man was handsome, so he should know how to be gentle with women. Wiping the tears from her eyes, Mabu nodded. I'll grant your request, but you have to release them first. Hyūga Teru was astonished. It had been just a joke, but Mabu had actually taken it seriously. Did she think Konoha was too dark, or had her spiritual pillar been shattered, causing her to lose her composure? They're yours to do as you please. Just send a few people to take them away. You can go back too. I was just joking. Her? Was that a joke? Mabu was incredulous. After all, the Fourth Raikage's status far surpassed Troy's. If Hyūga Teru wanted to capture the Raikage, none of them could stop him. While she was surprised by his rogue intentions, she felt that if he threatened the Raikage's safety, the request wasn't particularly unreasonable. She just hadn't expected, everything was fake. Suddenly, it felt unreal. Could this man also be a staunch adherent of the Will of Fire? Seeing Mabu's curiosity, Hyūga Teru caressed her cheek and spoke softly. If you're interested in staying and playing with me, I'd be happy to do so. Miss Mabu, would you consider it? Mabu immediately stepped back, blushing and feeling uneasy. I still can't, but thank you for your kindness. I will convey Konoha's goodwill to you once Raikage-sama wakes up. Mabu said this with a respectful bow, revealing his impressive cleavage. Hyūga Teru sniffed, feeling regretful, and waved his hand. Okay, you should take them back as soon as possible. Thank you, Mr. Wei. Mabu bowed again. Then he quickly gathered people and asked them to take Troy and others away. Looking at Mabu, who was commanding the Kumagakure ninja in an orderly manner to take the prisoners away. His capable but ungraceful look made Hinata's heart beat again. Such a capable secretary was not his own. What a pity. If the Hokage was Danzo, not only could he have captured the Raikage just now, but he could also keep the secretary, right? Chapter 41 Senior Intelligence Officer? Looking at the figures of Mabu and others leaving, Hyūga Teru was very melancholy. The other leader could have been captured directly, but he had to let the tiger go back to the mountain. It was really speechless. However, given the nature of the upper echelons, even if they captured the Raikage, they would still release him. And if he dared to play a sinister trick, AI would definitely be furious after recovering his body. He might use the weakness of the upper echelons to force him to achieve the same operation as the original Hisashi. Although he was no longer intimidated by Konoha, it did not mean that he wanted to clash with Konoha head-on. Because he was indeed fearless, but there were inevitably some things he could not take care of. So for the time being, he had to play along. However, all the people from Hyūga had left. A burst of hurried footsteps came from behind the watchtower. A green figure, after turning several times in the air, landed like a cannonball, stirring up a large cloud of dust. After searching for the Hyūga ninja in vain, the tiger's eyes turned to Hyūga Teru. Are you the enemy we're here to annihilate? How dare you cunningly impersonate one of ours? Take my Konoha whirlwind. But just as Guy was about to strike, a hurricane of leaves swept past. The white-haired ninja pinned him down with one hand. Ah, Guy, the enemy's gone. This could all be thanks to this gentleman. Don't be so rude. Guy was startled, scratching his head in embarrassment. So that's how it is. I thought he was an enemy in disguise. That's quite impressive. Did they say there were over 300 of them, but I don't know if it's just an illusion, but he looks familiar. Kakashi, do you have that feeling? Kakashi, also filled with disbelief, glanced at Hyūga Teru for a moment. Suppressing his shock, he patiently explained. He's the gentleman who challenged us to a noodle-eating contest earlier. We both lost to him. Oh, so it's the ramen-eating gentleman. Guy suddenly understood. He gave Hyūga Teru a title that shocked him. But before Hyūga Teru could correct him, he couldn't help but chuckle. Then, carrying a large black pot and a wild boar, Guji approached the group. He gazed for a moment in the direction of Hyūga before looking back at Hyūga Teru in surprise. They've already retreated? I thought there would be a fierce battle. How could they retreat so quickly? Seeing Guji's incredulous look, Hyūga Teru quickly explained. They probably thought it was a bit strange that we just played chess. Plus, I defeated the Raikage, so they retreated when they saw the situation was not good. That is possible. Guji was stunned. But after a moment of deep thought, his eyes widened. Suddenly, he felt that things were not that simple. Especially Hyūga Teru's expression was extremely calm, as if he didn't care at all. Could it be that he had already predicted that the enemy would be scared off? If so, what astonishing courage and wisdom! And this move was enough to frighten away the entire Hyūga army of 300 men, including the Raikage. Compared to the feats once achieved by the Fourth Raikage, wasn't it? Hyūga Teru had no idea what Kosuke was thinking, and waved goodbye, too lazy to explain. Senior, dinner is up to you. If it's nothing important, don't bother me. I'm tired after just fighting. Oh, okay, it was indeed tiring. Then you go and rest first. I'll call you for dinner. Kosuke agreed. But his brows were still furrowed, as if he was thinking about something. Hyūga Teru ignored the others and went to his tent, leaving a shadow clone behind. He then summoned Komatsu Ryu. Komatsu, when you return, reverse summon my original body to it, understand? Komatsu Ryu nodded repeatedly, looking at Hyūga Teru curiously. Master, is it time for another checkup for Big Sister? Hyūga Teru glared at Komatsu Ryu. Don't ask questions you shouldn't ask, understand? He was such a serious man, and he wanted to find your kiddo. Of course, a checkup was secondary. Exploring the sea and teaching cooking were the main priorities, okay? After all, a hypnotized kiddo was like a reset computer. It requires a lot of knowledge to learn. Got it. Xiaolu stuck out his tongue mischievously, lowered his head and turned into a puff of smoke. Not long after, Hyūga Teru also disappeared. And after returning, he had a luxurious wild boar banquet with Guji in an extremely peaceful state of mind, and then returned to the tent early to rest. At night, outside the tent bordering the jungle, there were constant sounds of insects. Suddenly, outside the tent, there were soft footsteps. A graceful figure sneaked in. But as soon as she came in, the woman's expression became cold. Staring at Hyūga Teru, who had already taken off his clothes. "Are you going to go on a mission with me like this?" Hyūga Teru looked at Nono from a distance, one hand constantly stroking his well-defined abdominal muscles, with a wicked smile on the corner of his mouth. "Maybe we can do some preparatory activities before the trip. After all, I am about to become a hero of Konoha, right?" However, Nono was stunned for a moment. But she slowly revealed a smile of deep interest, approaching Hyūga Teru. One slender hand caressed his abs. The other lifted his chin. "You're right, we should treat our hero properly, it's just that I haven't done that in over 30 years. I was wondering if you, young man, could give me a taste of it first." Was she hinting that she was an old woman, and her current appearance was simply a transformation? Though the black scarf obscured her features, those dark, radiant eyes were definitely not the kind of eyes found only in old age. Did she really think she was just scared? And the truth, of course, would only be revealed after peeling it off. Therefore, Hyūga Teru didn't hesitate. He immediately wrapped his arms tightly around her waist, becoming restless. "Don't worry, my hands are incredibly fast and my technique is expert. I'll make you feel like youth colliding with old waists." Feeling her body being held tightly, a large hand exploring her freely, Nono panicked and began to struggle violently. "You're a pervert. I have a 50-year-old ulcer, and it still stinks. Let me go." The more Nono resisted, the more Hyūga Teru's suspicions became confirmed, and even more excited. "Ulcer is great, you're so old-fashioned. I'll suck everyone I meet." "Looks like I've met the best today." Nono was shocked. She struggled frantically, but found herself trapped like an octopus, unable to move. "You, let me go now, or I'll scream. If someone finds us, we'll both be doomed." Hyūga Teru couldn't help but marvel. "Even if this place is far from the rest area, wouldn't I cover your mouth if you screamed? You claim to be a high-ranking intelligence officer, but you're probably kidding. If you don't have a good explanation, you'll just have to do whatever I want today." Nono was also distressed. She had been careless before and had made a mistake. This time, she wanted to disgust this guy, but she failed. Could this guy be her nemesis? If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 42, Shameless Person. But he was the strongest spy in the route after all. Hyūga Teru had challenged him twice. He had indeed survived the previous one. This time, he had faced the same challenge before. Nono quickly lost her panic. She wore a nonchalant expression, as if she had given up struggling. "Whatever you want, it's fine. I've been an intelligence officer for over 10 years. I lost my virginity long ago, and I've had sex with countless men. I have a severe allergic reaction to seafood, and I'm always itchy. I didn't dare get checked out. After all, I have to keep working as an intelligence officer. Even if I recover, I can't stop working." There's almost no chance of recovery. Although the words were vague, Hyūga Teru could probably tell that Nono was just using the illness to scare him. But whether it was true or not, he didn't dare gamble. He wasn't at the point of risking his life. And as an intelligence officer, and a woman at that, not using her beauty to gather intelligence would be a waste of talent. Over the past 10 years, it's possible that she didn't use her beauty once or twice. But she couldn't use it forever, could she? After figuring this out, Hyūga Teru immediately let go of Nono. He quickly put on his clothes, his eyes filled with a deep sense of rejection. It seemed as if this rejection had irritated her. After all, she'd always been looked down upon whenever she met Hyūga Teru, and she'd accumulated so much resentment. Nono immediately responded with a disdainful glare. "If you dislike my body being dirty, just say so. There's no need to look at me like that, but if you dislike me, I dislike you too. You're such a fussy person, you have no manliness at all, and you're so timid. If it were those musclemen in Kumagakure, they'd swallow you up, no matter if you were poisonous or not. How could you spit it out after it's in your mouth?" Even then, Nono continued to linger, sizing Hyūga Teru up and down. Her eyes were filled with undisguised contempt. "I say, have you seen enough? An intelligence officer like you who's failed twice, can you still be more reliable? Under the mighty Konoha Dark, you're the only high-level intelligence officer left? Can you protect Konoha anymore? Damn it, who's afraid of who else if we hurt each other?" Even if I haven't been to Zoon, I felt it, okay? Hyūga Teru glared back at Nono with a look of contempt. As if to tell her, you, a mere high-level root intelligence officer, have no chance of winning against someone like me, who has been tainted by the power of Zoon. But Nono was no ordinary person. After ignoring Hyūga Teru's gaze, she folded her arms and said disdainfully, "No matter how unreliable I am in your eyes, it doesn't change the fact that you have the desire but not the courage. What? I was right. Are you going to get angry and hit me?" As she spoke, Hyūga Teru approached her, fully dressed. But she remained calm, her eyes full of challenge. But she didn't see any anger in Hyūga Teru's eyes. Instead, there was a hint of amusement she didn't quite understand. 3 slaps echoed across Nono's body, leaving her bewildered. "What are you doing? You really want to hit me?" Nono, her acupuncture points sealed, felt a bit limp, and panic set in. Hyūga Teru's smile was surprisingly gentle. "A woman as beautiful as you, I'd pamper her enough. How could I possibly hide her? You, what on earth are you trying to do?" "I just hid the truth. I'm actually very ill. Practically rotting." Nono's panic grew. She'd been a spy for so long, yet she'd become a walking witch. It wasn't her looks, but her solid technique. She'd been so defensive for so long. She was genuinely worried that this man, who should have been furious, but smiled so softly, would actually break through her defenses. His laughter, a near madness, was the label of a maniac. She immediately struck Hyūga Teru. Hyūga Teru's smile softened, and his hand slowly caressed Nono's beautiful legs. "Tisk, tisk, explanations are just cover-ups. Weren't you so generous just now, claiming to be battle-hardened? You must be in good physical condition, right?" Nono grew increasingly confused, shivering as her body weakened. "My physical strength is average, and it's confirmed I'm ill. It would be terrible if I infected you, so please let me go." Hyūga Teru smiled and patted her leg. "Don't worry, as a mature man, I'm quite experienced in avoiding infectious diseases. Just lie down, this is going to be an unforgettable experience." "No, don't, what are you doing?" Before Nono could scream again, her mouth was covered. With the help of the shadow clones, the entire tent shook violently. The aftermath was thick with the smell of decay. Pharmacist Nono wept profusely, wiping her clothes with a handkerchief. Hyūga Teru carried out the black stockings, some of them bleached white, given by the tribesman, and burned them clean with his fire technique. His mind was perfectly calm, a faint smile playing on his lips. Turning back to the tent, he saw Nana wiping her clothes with a handkerchief, suddenly sobbing as if she were overwhelmed. "Woo-woo. It's not clean anymore, not clean anymore, not clean anymore." This time Hyūga Teru looked bewildered. "What's the point of talking about being clean? Can't we just go to Kumagakure and take a shower later? There's nothing damaged on me, so why do this?" Nana glared at Hyūga Teru with the venom of a man he hated. "You bastard, you pervert, I'm not going to Kumagakure with you. I'm going back now." If she stayed any longer, she might suffer another unforgettable humiliation like the one just now. Nana said, and was about to rush out of the tent. But her legs had already given out, and she stumbled the moment she stood up. Fortunately, Hyūga Teru was quick-witted and quickly pulled her into his arms. "You're a high-ranking intelligence officer, though a bit underqualified, but you're a good match for me. I wouldn't agree to replace you with anyone else, and you won't get far tonight. Stay here. There are countless benefits to following me. Whether it's money or anything else, I can satisfy most of your needs." Although Nono's face was mostly sorrowful, the mention of money piqued her interest. "Do you have a lot of money? You brought a lot with you when you left the village? You should at least give me some for what you just did, right?" Hyūga Teru's face suddenly turned strange. "Speaking of which, your leader won't pay you? It's not uncommon for a ninja to be so short of money. Besides, with my looks, I went to a Japanese place. There should be many ladies who would be happy to help for free, right?" Hearing this, he decided not to pay. Nono immediately flew into a rage. "If you don't want to pay, then don't. And you shamelessly praise your looks. I've met all kinds of men. I've met at least 10,000, if not 100,000. I've never met anyone as shameless as you." Chapter 43, Yakushi Nono. "How, you call me shameless? I wonder who is that battle-hardened veteran who said they could do whatever I wanted? And yet, in actual combat, they immediately backed down. How hilarious." Hyūga Teru glared at Nono with a playful expression. "Your pitiful reserve. If it weren't for the fact that I don't like things being forced, I'd have torn it all apart long ago. Well, you're right. Your service may be poor, but it's first-hand, so you should pay the stated price. For the sake of our future teammates, I'll give you 100,000 ryo. If you need more money, I can offer similar services in the future, Hyūga Teru said, pulling out a scroll and summoning a large wad of banknotes. He pulled out a wad and casually tossed it into Nono's arm. Although he was deeply annoyed by the remark, Nono kept his head buried in the space between his arms, his expression invisible. He took advantage of Hyūga Teru's inattention and quietly snatched the money from his hand, clutching it tightly. Though deeply humiliated, Nono felt a pang of displeasure. But she really needed the 100,000 ryo. Not only because she knew that in the Neon Place, the price was considered sky-high. But as a spy, although she could occasionally obtain some money from the assassinated people, but in the route, no matter how dangerous or difficult the mission was, the reward was a fixed 50,000 ryo. The route was too shady. Before leaving the route, she wanted to make more money to avoid being controlled by the black-hearted leader all the time. She was very clear about the methods of the black-hearted leader. Although she agreed to be a spy for a few more months, she was allowed to quit. But the funds she accumulated were not enough to cover the expenses of the orphanage for too long. Once the route stopped providing funds, she might have to go back to her old business. So she really needed money, even if it was obtained by trampling on her dignity. Seeing Nono said nothing, Hyūga Teru squatted in front of her and sighed. I really don't know how you managed to become a high-ranking intelligence agent. It's just that after all this, you're a bit overwhelmed, but speaking of which, you seem to be short of money. On the other hand, I'm quite wealthy. Whether you can get what I have left depends on your performance. Somehow, humiliating this somewhat arrogant woman had become somewhat addictive. Meanwhile, Yakushi Nono looked at Hyūga Teru angrily, gathering his stubbornness. You'd better forget it. I won't sell my integrity again. If you need that kind of service, go to a Japanese place, Hyūga Teru smiled. Don't overthink it. I'm a tough guy, but I'm not one to lose control. I just wanted to get some useful information from you, like your name. Well, Nana, the name you're telling me now isn't real, is it? A spy wouldn't be so foolish as to reveal their real name, right? Nono's temper immediately turned sour. Of course I know the common sense of being a spy, but why would I tell you my real name? This little money isn't enough. Her eyes remained fixed on the stack of money, which she likely knew was worth nearly 1,000,000 ryoku. She was still desperate for it, but her professional ethics restrained her desire. After all, for a spy, intelligence is life, even a mere name can't be easily revealed. Hyūga Teru's smile grew more playful. I say, do you really think your name has a price tag, for someone like me, who's mastered the Byakugan? Recording a person's chakra fluctuations is a piece of cake. This means I can easily locate you in Konoha based on this. Even though you're an intelligence officer, you still have a normal life, right? You keep saying there's no past or future, but I don't think you really do. Though the words were cryptic, Nono couldn't help but hear the underlying meaning, and a cold expression fell on her face. What do you want? Are you threatening me with my family? If so, I won't let you succeed, even if it means death. Hyūga Teru waved his hands repeatedly. How could that be? I wouldn't do anything that awful, but if you don't tell me, not only will I be left without money, but I might also lose my curiosity and ask your family about your situation. After all, we'll be teammates for a long time, so it's only right that we're honest with each other. Pharmacist Nono grew angrier and angrier the more she thought about it. Especially Hyūga Teru's sleazy smile. If she hadn't been defeated, she'd have wanted to tear him to pieces. But names are indeed important to the outside world and need to be hidden. But revealing them internally is no problem. On the contrary, this loser man is willing to pay. It's a steal. 100,000 taels, no bargaining. Give me 100 taels and I'll tell you my name. Without hesitation, Hyūga Teru pulled out a wad of bills and shoved them into Nono's hands, cupping them in both hands. He then grasped her delicate hand in the middle, giving her a pig-like grin. Hold these 100,000 taels well. Miss, you should tell me your name now, right? Yakushi Nono bit her lip, wrenching her hand free. She squinted at Hyūga Teru with disdain. Forget about the name, it stinks when it comes out of your mouth. My name is Yakushi Nono, and don't use my real name in future operations. This is the first code of conduct when infiltrating an enemy country. Speaking of which, do you still want to join our route? If not, forget it. Hyūga Teru suddenly realized, and couldn't help but stare at Nono a few more times. Her long golden hair and soft, intellectual features seemed different from the original. She seemed even prettier. Oh, right. She wasn't wearing the tacky reading glasses from the original. No wonder she looked so much prettier. After fully understanding, Hyūga Teru pulled her up and quickly untied her acupuncture points. Of course I will go. For Konoha, no matter how many difficulties and obstacles there are, I will not back down. She sounded like a hot-blooded idiot. This made Nono speechless. She was killed by such a person again and again. But when she thought of what happened just now, she suppressed her inner disdain. This man should not be as simple as he seemed. To be honest, she still hasn't seen his true face. He looks unreliable, but in fact, his methods are amazing, and she has always been the one who suffered. As her mind became more alert, a hint of viciousness flashed in her dark eyes. Then let's go. Don't act on your own when you get there. Otherwise, if your identity is discovered, I won't care about you then. Hyūga Teru slapped her thigh with a pop sound, and said very easily. Don't worry, even if it's my first time to assassinate in the enemy country, I can do my best. If I'm discovered, I just need to kill those who discover me. Pharmacist Nono. Chapter 44. I am not that kind of person. In the restroom of the bathhouse in the Hidden Cloud Village, Nono walked to the dressing room with a refreshed look on her face and changed into a brand new kimono. Her mood immediately became much better. Although the pervert's behavior was disgusting, he was very generous. He directly booked 2 separate compartments and bought her a beautiful kimono. It was a silk kimono. In the past, she would not even dare to touch it. She did not expect that she could wear it today. The soft and comfortable feeling on her body made her resentment towards Hyūga Teru less. But as soon as she came out and saw Hyūga Teru's face, her smile disappeared and she immediately showed anger. Hey, you pervert, are you peeping at me? Wait, you seem to be able to see through things. Pharmacist Nono suddenly realized something and quickly covered her key parts. Hyūga Teru looked innocent. The vision is all gray and white. You're certainly good looking, but not enough for me to switch to black and white vision. Can I peek? Actually, I prefer a half-revealed, half-covered view rather than a full view. This pink kimono with the cherry blossom pattern suits you quite well. Would you like to change into a pair of black stockings? How about 150,000 ryo for the service? After that, the mention of stockings reminded Nono of her previous dirtying. Goosebumps suddenly appeared on her body. Her face was filled with resistance. Forget it. I won't give you that kind of service again. She continued to hold her body in her arms, still maintaining her guard. Given your perversion, I don't believe you'd miss such a good opportunity to peek. After all, your appearance can't be changed at will. Even if you secretly used X-ray vision, I can't tell now. Was she suspecting that she had used a transformation technique to cover up her peeping? Hyūga Teru was speechless. She felt that Nono's attitude seemed to be hardening again. She changed the subject. Let's talk about the mission, then. The sooner I finish it, the sooner I can return. After all, leaving a shadow clone there isn't going to be a problem. They'd left a shadow clone in the tent before leaving, and it would only last for about 3 days. So time was very tight. Nono didn't answer immediately. Instead, he went to where he'd left his clothes and pulled out a map-like diagram. He pointed to an icon with a steaming bowl of soup. This is our current location. You'll need to go here, to the Thunderbird turntable. Once you're there, you'll have to assassinate 2 militants named Genie and Taimani. Here's their general intelligence. Take a look. Nono handed over the document. They're not only into fitness, but they also like good-looking men. Judging by your current appearance, getting close to them shouldn't be a problem. Hyūga Teru looked puzzled. Are they really into this kind of atmosphere in Kumagakure? Didn't you say they were brave? They'd even dare to swallow a piece of meat. He hadn't even seen the Thunderbird turntable yet. But after listening to Nono's description, he still roughly guessed something. However, Nono looked at him with sarcasm. Why, are you scared? Didn't you say that you would sacrifice yourself for Konoha? Why are you backing down now? You accepted my hospitality before. Shouldn't you come straight in with a heroic and proud attitude? Hyūga Teru glanced at Nono's legs, which were emitting a faint heat after being washed under her skirt. He licked his lips and said, I think you can treat me again, and I will pay this time as well. And after the hospitality, I will immediately go and kill those 2 noobs. However, Nono refused directly. No matter how much you talk, I will not agree to you again, because I am not that kind of person. Hyūga Teru chuckled and pinched her soft golden hair. This is a bathhouse. Even if you do something, you can wash it off right away. How about 1 million ryo? This opportunity only comes once. If it were market price, it would be enough for me to go to the Japanese entertainment center 100 times. Hyūga Teru stared at Nono with a stern gaze, a wicked smile on his face. Being stared at like that, Nono felt both ashamed and angry, and her heart was in turmoil. 1 million ryo. That's already S-rank mission pay. If the orphanage used it sparingly, it could easily feed 100 children for 6 months. Yet, this man before her was only trying to satisfy that need. While she hated this prodigal son immensely, her heart began to waver. It was indeed as Hyūga Teru had said. This was a bathhouse. Even if it got dirty, it could still be washed. She didn't know if this opportunity would come again. But at that price, she felt it wouldn't. Hyūga Teru quickly handed the black stockings given by the tribe to the hesitant Nono. After a moment's hesitation, she obediently put them on. Then, his face flushed. Suddenly, Hyūga Teru, feeling refreshed, couldn't help but praise him. Not bad, you're much more measured than before. I think this job might suit you. Would you consider changing careers? Or maybe becoming my maid? After all, you'll be out of work soon, right? Nono gave Hyūga Teru the blank look. What's this about losing your job? It's about escaping misery, right? But she quickly stopped thinking about it and instead focused on the 2 knives on Hyūga Teru's back. Are you sure you want to carry that knife? You'll probably be stopped before you even get through the door, or even arrested. You should get a dagger instead. You can carry daggers inside, Nono said, pulling out a slightly worn dagger from her bag. Taking the dagger, Hyūga Teru thought it made sense, so he untied the 2 knives on his back and handed them to Nono. Then keep it for me. I don't have any extra scrolls to store right now, but don't leave for a while. I might still be interested when I get back. There's plenty of money for you to make, and this place is convenient too. Nono nodded expressionlessly, suppressing her disgust. Then hurry up, leave soon, and be back soon. Hyūga Teru raised an eyebrow. You sound a bit like a wife waiting for her husband to return. Wait here, then. I'll be back in no more than a few minutes. I've left you some black stockings. Remember to wash them and put them on right away. Hyūga Teru hurried out. However, Nono's gaze, as if eager for her husband's return, vanished instantly as Hyūga Teru vanished, and her gaze grew colder. She had exaggerated the image she had given Hyūga Teru. While this might make Hyūga Teru's actions smooth, there was also a high probability that, if he was unlucky, he would die. But for a member of the root, facing death was commonplace. Hyūga Teru was tricked by her, and the only thing to blame was his wickedness. And the leader didn't really want to accept him. So, he had accomplished the mission assigned by the leader. Chapter 45, God-Level Heavenly Sending Technique. First sign-in to the Hidden Cloud Village has been successful. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the God-Level Heaven Sending Technique. God-Level Heaven Sending Technique. Teleport any object to a designated location at the speed of light, without any damage. Consumes 1 chakra per minute, and the teleportation interval is 5 seconds. Hyūga Teru was completely stunned upon hearing the system notification. When he first arrived at the Hidden Cloud Village, he'd found traveling a bit inconvenient. Now with a heaven-sending technique, there was no need to rush. He could go anywhere he wanted, and in the blink of an eye. Speaking of which, his heaven-sending technique was a revised version. The original seemed to damage the teleported object due to its speed. This one doesn't damage anything at all. Paired with the Byakugan, he probably could meet up with Kaoru and Yukito anytime in the future. It also made signing in much easier. It was like a pillow being delivered whenever I felt sleepy. The system was simply amazing. Thinking of this, Hyūga Teru felt much more relaxed, and his steps towards the Thunderbird's turning house became more brisk. At this moment, his face was as if it was carved by a knife and an axe, and he was so handsome that everyone knew him. His skin was as white as snow, and his muscles were as perfect as those of ancient Greek sculptures. His upper body was almost naked, wearing refreshing overalls and a white tie. His waxed mohawk hair gleamed in the sun, making him look muscular and refined. He didn't really want to dress like this, but he couldn't resist Nona's strong request. At first he didn't understand, but not long after entering the village, he realized the benefits of this look. Many people often came up to talk to him, introduce themselves, or asked to work out together. It seemed that as long as he smiled, all the muscular men would be happy to help him with anything. In short, he was very popular. At this moment on the street, it seemed that his sunny smile also attracted the attention of many muscular men. It took only a short while before he was surrounded by men. I don't know if they were excited or what. Not only was he drooling while walking, but he was also leaking yellow liquid, and there were more than one of them. Surrounded by a group of muscular men with excited faces, he was overwhelmed. It felt like even reaching his destination was becoming difficult. He even had doubts. Was Nanoi trying to trick him? Making him look so attractive to the same sex was indeed very much to the taste of the people of Hyūga. But his mere presence had become the focal point, and in turn hindered their progress. As expected, he was stopped at the entrance of the shop. "Sir, you look extremely suspicious. We need to conduct a thorough search. If you cooperate, the search can be shortened." Hearing the muscular guard at the door make such a request, Hineda's face nearly turned pale. He was no longer the innocent boy he once was. If he didn't understand this, then all the knowledge the teacher had taught him would be in vain. Seeing the two guards' rough hands about to reach out, Hineda's expression darkened. Bang, bang. The two men flew out like cannonballs, slamming straight into the thick wooden bar. This move immediately drew gasps of surprise from the men in the room. What a powerful way to enter. Are young people these days so fond of forcing things? It's really heartbreaking. This kid looks great. Every inch of his body has the potential to be a wrestler, but being so reckless will probably anger Rinnegan Teimei. Haha, this kid looks good in every way. Maybe Rinnegan Teimei will like him very much? Listening to noisy discussions in the room, Hyūga Teru's mouth twitched constantly. If he weren't worried about the danger of exposing his identity, he would have really wanted to return to his original appearance. You never know until you see it. It's really shocking. The tough village of Hyūga has such a side? But soon, two sturdy men in overalls and lipstick, stepping on crisp high heels, approached the crowd. Among them, Genie, with his bangs, shoved one hand in his trouser pocket. With the other, he pulled out a lollipop from his mouth and looked up at Teimei, next to him, coquettishly. Brother, this guy's gone too far. He even smashed the bar counter. Teimei, with her pigtails, looked downcast. That's really too much? He doesn't know how hard I work to run this shop. Every day, my hands get skinned from counting money, but I've been forcing myself not to go to the hospital, all for the sake of running the shop, but he actually had the guts to smash the bar counter. That's unforgivable. But he's such a handsome guy, we can't let him go to waste. Let him stay with us until he's satisfied. Hyūga Teru stared at Teimei, folding his arms. If you want me to stay, I'll stay. Do you think you can keep me? Teimei smiled and shook her head. Young man, staying with us isn't just for the two of us, it's for everyone in this shop. Whether we can keep you here depends on everyone's consent. After Teimei finished speaking, the atmosphere in the shop suddenly became lively. The muscular men were all rubbing their hands in anticipation. Boss Teimei is so generous, willing to share such a top-notch product. Tisk, such a delicate and tender creature, it's really hard to resist. It would be a shame to let him get away. I've never seen such a refined man. He's a gift from heaven. I didn't expect to be so lucky today. Many of them were green-eyed, as if they wanted to swallow Hyūga Teru whole. Seeing this, Hyūga Teru probably understood that this matter couldn't be a small matter. He immediately pulled out the small knife from his waist and glared at Teimei coldly. I originally wanted to make a few holes in you and your brother. It seems the plan has changed a bit now. I guess this knife will be useless after use. Teimei was stunned for a moment, but then couldn't help but sneer. I didn't expect you to come here to assassinate us, but there are more assassins like you. If there are more, call them all. We'll take them all. Hyūga Teru couldn't help but sneer. You really thought you had me beat. It seems you won't understand why flowers are so red unless I teach you a lesson. God-level lightning release armor. Activate. With a crackle, dark blue lightning suddenly erupted from Hyūga Teru, arcs of electricity instantly intertwining into a dense, intense mass. It was as if he had instantly donned a majestic, metallic blue armor. A breathtaking aura suddenly surged, emanating waves of air that even those closest to the ground couldn't stand. Lightning. Lightning release armor? You actually possess this level of lightning release armor? Who the hell are you? Teimei's face was filled with extreme horror. And those around him were also dumbfounded. Hyūga Teru, however, smiled innocently. Guess who I am? Suddenly, Teimei felt confident again. Hell, it's obvious you're from this Henwu school. Don't think you're invincible just because you have lightning release armor. The Third Raikage was so powerful, yet he was ultimately defeated by numbers. Could your armor be any stronger than the Third Raikage's? Chapter 46. How can I repair it? Sorry, my lightning release armor is indeed stronger than the Third Raikage's, Hyūga Teru admitted with a smile. Without even considering Tamei's response, he moved his knife forward. God-level Uchiha-style swordsmanship. Instant slash, Hyūga Teru's figure instantly transformed into a streak of blue light. Each time he swept past a person, a massive hole was left in their vitals. They died before they could even draw breath, blood gushing from their bodies like a fountain. Witnessing such monstrous speed and incredible killing efficiency, Tamei's ears echoed with Hyūga Teru's words. His face paled as death, and he collapsed to the ground. How? How is it possible? How can he be so fast? Could he have truly surpassed the Third Raikage? Jeannie's face was filled with fear, her orchid-like hands clutching Tamei's sleeve tightly. Brother, what should I do? This guy is so powerful. I'm so scared. Boom boom boom. Hyūga Teru's movement suddenly became extremely violent. The knife had already vanished. Relying solely on his fists, the muscular man crushed every man with one blow. Some tried to escape, but couldn't even take a single step. They were crushed by the bodies one after another. The terrifying impact, like that of the massive truck, instantly broke every inch of the fleeing body. In less than 10 seconds, Hyūga Teru, swift as a flash of light, had crushed the rest of the people in the store to death. The dead were everywhere, hanging from the ceiling, pierced through the floorboards, smashed into the counters. Almost every body was dislocated in some way, their deaths horrific. Ginny and Tamei couldn't believe how nearly 400 strong men around them had been slaughtered so quickly. The overpowering smell of blood filled the room, making Hyūga Teru, approaching slowly, look like the Grim Reaper from hell, a terrifying sight. Brother, he's coming, he's coming. I'm so scared. Ginny huddled close to Tamei. But he was already stinking, and a puddle of yellow water had formed on the floor. Tamei had already become numb, and was also frightened and incontinent. His eyes had lost all their sparkle, as if he'd become a puppet. Sure enough, the true martial sect just dislikes us. No matter how much money they bring to the village, they still want to exclude us. We clearly share the same desire to strengthen the village, and we're working hard to demonstrate its strength. Isn't it just that we enjoy being with like-minded people? Why are you killing us? Hyūga Teru's face was quizzical. What on earth was he talking about? How do you fake martial artists usually demonstrate the village's strength? Logically, these people enjoyed exchanging philosophical conversations. They couldn't be fighting sects. So, was Danzo sending him here to slaughter them? After the recent fight, none of these people were any good fighters. Their muscles looked fake. He suspected they were all on hormones. Tamei thought he was going to die instantly, but then he heard Hyūga Teru's question and couldn't help but respond immediately. Sir, we're called the Void Martial School. While we're certainly insignificant compared to those who achieve muscle through sheer effort, please don't call us the fake martial school. Our muscles are the product of potions, but it's also thanks to these potions that we've been able to bring in so much money for Hyūga Cure. We're certainly not that strong. But we've pioneered a bodybuilding trend and unified the standards across the continent. We have our pride. Hyūga Teru silently held his forehead. Alright, thank you for satisfying my curiosity, but you'll still die. Bang! Two fists crashed into Ginny and Tamei. It was like hitting a slack sandbag. The fists pierced through them, killing them instantly. You're so weak, yet you still dare to threaten me? You're not exactly in your right mind. Pulling out his bloody fist, Hyūga Teru looked at the two men's limp muscles with a wave of disdain. But he couldn't linger much longer. Footsteps could be heard outside. But he didn't flee immediately. Instead, he headed deeper into the room, completely disregarding the door's tightness. He swiftly smashed down any obstacles with brute force. He didn't really listen, though, to the rumors of the hypothetical martial school and the true martial school, but he did hear Tamei say he'd made a lot of money. Money, that bastard, was a good thing in any world. Especially when he'd been with Nono, he'd experienced its beauty countless times. Besides, he had the Byakugan, a clairvoyante, and the divine escape technique of the Tenseigan Jutsu, so what if the entire Hyūga army arrived? In the cattle pen, piled high with hay, the lowing of cows echoed. Almost as soon as he teleported to the pen, Hyūga Teru noticed something was amiss. Samu, you seem to have grown up again. Nano, come on, I can't take it anymore. Can you stay here this time? Shit. Was it so exciting right from the start? What was he even doing? According to the patterns of Nono's chakra fluctuations, he used the heaven sentence technique to teleport near her. He'd planned to surprise her and get revenge on her. But he hadn't expected to encounter this. Opening his Byakugan and aiming in the direction of the voice, Hyūga Teru was even more stunned. These two women were exactly as he'd imagined. Wasting resources on each other? How could this be possible? Samu actually had a size that couldn't even be grasped with both of his hands. Nono was so disgusted with him. Was it because she harbored such an astonishing hobby? Suddenly, the doubts in Hyūga Teru's mind mostly dissipated. But at the same time, an indescribable irritation filled his chest. Not only had they let him down, but they were hoarding such top-tier resources. What a waste. No, I couldn't let Nono be so carefree. I had to find a way to separate them. With this in mind, Hyūga Teru immediately used the shadow clone technique. The shadow clone then transformed into Mabu, whom he'd met once before, and walked outside the cattle pen. Samu, what are you doing here? Not long after, a breathless, slightly embarrassed voice emanated from the cowshed. Yes, is that Mabu? Are you here to get more Cloud Thunder milk? Isn't Raikage-sama enough? Hyūga Teru's shadow clone paused for a moment, then replied in a serendipitous tone. Yes, Raikage-sama is too weak to drink Cloud Thunder milk. The amount you just took isn't enough, I see. I'll give you what we have in stock right away. Please wait in my living room. The shadow clone immediately walked away. Soon, Samu, disheveled and turbulent, emerged, her face flushed, and hurried toward the living room. Taking advantage of this, Hyūga Teru sneaked into the area where Samu had emerged. Who is it? Come out now. Unbelievably, Nono was the first to notice the commotion. However, Hyūga Teru didn't intend to hide. Facing Nono's astonishment, he simply walked out. Chapter 47, Finding a Different Way. Why is it you? Nono was extremely surprised. She had originally thought that Samu had forgotten something. But it turned out to be Hyūga Teru, the man she hated so much. Hyūga Teru looked at her with a half-smile. Why can't it be me? Did I ask you to wait for me in the bathhouse? Why did you come here all of a sudden? Hyūga Teru slowly approached Nono, closing the distance between them to just a fist. Or, you knew there was a high possibility that I would die. So you came to your old lover's place to avoid the limelight? Nono immediately pulled her collar tightly and distanced herself from Hyūga Teru indifferently. You are the one who made such a big deal out of it. If I hadn't found a safe place sooner, I would have been implicated by you. There is no such thing as having to protect companions in the route. Everything is based on the mission. It is common to retreat when you see something is wrong. Hyūga Teru thought for a moment and agreed. That philosophy sounds pretty good, but knowing how to assess the situation should have anything to do with harming teammates, right? Could it be that harming me is also to facilitate the mission? Or is it that the root never really intended to accept me and is simply using me? A flicker of shock flashed across Nono's eyes. Then, calmly, she said, how could that be? When you say harming you, it's simply because you were executing the mission incorrectly. If you're willing to sacrifice even a little, perhaps we can complete the mission with minimal effort. Nono's words were true. But how could that be a small sacrifice? It was a massive sacrifice, wasn't it? A full-fledged root member would likely make such a sacrifice without hesitation. But as a newcomer, I certainly wouldn't be willing to let go. Besides, Nono hasn't mentioned it. Her actions were definitely biased. While she left some room for maneuver, there was a certain amount of subjective targeting. This matter could be minor or major, but a more straightforward newcomer would likely have died long ago. But perhaps in her eyes, wasn't what I'd done earlier no less humiliating than the humiliation I'd endured on that road to survival? What a petty and terrifying woman. It seems I'd underestimated her before. While her actions weren't utterly egregious, not retaliating wasn't my style. Haha, we're all adults, let's not beat around the bush. You want me to wrestle with those men as revenge for what I did to you earlier, right? I admit I underestimated you. A high-ranking intelligence officer like you is truly remarkable. Even now, there are still beautiful women obsessed with you. Come to think of it, you're the first woman in my life who's made me jealous. It's incredible to think about it. I think you owe me some compensation, Hyūga Teru said, his lewd hand resting on Nono's leg, kneading it gently with just the right amount of pressure. What are you trying to do now, you pervert? If you want to do that again, I won't let you succeed. No matter how much money you offer, Hyūga Teru raised an eyebrow, instantly piqued. You're not short of money now? Could that woman have given you money? If that's the case, then your standing in my heart will probably rise even higher. Speaking of your skills, I think I'm quite skilled. But compared to someone like you who's willing to be paid, it seems I'm still a long way behind. How about you teach me? I really want to learn. If you're willing to teach me, I'll pay the tuition. Without further ado, how about giving you 5 million taels to cheer you up? Hyūga Teru said, pulling a large wad of banknotes from the bag behind him and tossing it in front of Nono. With just one glance, Nono could tell the amount. It was all in 1,000 taels denominations, a total of over 6 million taels. Over a million more than 5 million. That's a million? Not just 10 or 20,000. Could that huge bag he was carrying be filled with money? Did you rob the Hidden Cloud Village's treasury? There's a good 6 million taels here, Hyūga Teru said with a wry smile. It's because you chose the mission. Those guys are making a lot of money selling muscle-building potions. They probably made a few 100 million this time, several 100 million? How did you do it? Did you check where they kept their money in advance? Nono was astonished, but he was more focused on the big bag on Hyūga Teru's back with a look of desire in his eyes. If a few 100 million were put into an orphanage, it would be enough for at least 10 or 20 years of food expenses. This guy, who is already very rich, could actually bring back so much money from a single mission. This made Nono feel depressed, as if the satisfaction he had felt from cheating Hyūga Teru before was suddenly gone. He was even filled with envy and jealousy. Hyūga Teru chuckled and said, I've told you before, if you're willing to follow me, you'll have tons of money to spend. Do you think anyone can hide anything from me? Almost any wealthy person's treasure trove is open to me if I want it. Well, do you want me to give you another chance? If you agree, you'll have everything you want and never have to worry about money again. Hyūga Teru had witnessed Nono's thirst for money before. It seemed like nothing could make her lose her composure more than money. He naturally assumed she would agree. But Nono paused for a moment, her expression cold. I won't agree to it. I'll never agree to your request in my lifetime. Forget it. If it's about money, I can easily figure out a wealthy person's preferences and transform myself into what they like, but that kind of life isn't what I want. Hyūga Teru was bewildered. What was wrong with this woman? She'd made a deal with him before, but now she wasn't interested in money? And if she is so capable, how come she was so easily controlled by Danzo in the original novel? Could it be that she really has a problem with her sexuality? Hyūga Teru pondered over it and came to this conclusion. After all, as a spy, she must sacrifice her looks when she has to. But there is no rule about who to sell it to. It seems natural that Nono would take a different approach, as if she had discovered some big secret. Hyūga Teru's eyes widened, and he was stunned for a long time before coming to his senses. If that's the case, then it's up to you. But I still want to learn your method. After all, it's an advanced skill, right? Nono said with a blush on her cheeks. I don't know what you are talking about. Since you have completed the mission safely, it's better to evacuate this village as soon as possible. Hyūga Teru still had a smile on his face. It's okay to retreat. Anyway, I'm strong enough and it won't be a problem to fight my way out. On the contrary, why don't you keep in touch with your source of information? Chapter 48, Do It Until Night? A hint of annoyance suddenly crossed Nono's eyes. What's it to you whether I maintain this relationship or not? You should just leave immediately and don't bother me. He'd been so kind to this woman, and yet she actually thought he was bothering her? Did she really think she was getting in the way? It seemed like he hadn't even settled his score with her yet. Not only was this woman ungrateful, she even despised him. How could that be? Hyūga Teru pondered for a moment, then said cheekily. So what if I'm not leaving? Not only am I not leaving, I want to admire your superb skills as a senior. At this point, Hyūga Teru chuckled, approached Nono and said cunningly. Otherwise, I might not be able to hide your unusual quirks. At first, Nono was a little annoyed and decided to fight to the end. But then, he thought about it carefully. He suddenly remembered what Hyūga Teru had said before, he could find him by his chakra fluctuations. This meant that Hyūga Teru's outbursts could affect her reputation beyond Konoha. In Konoha, especially near the orphanage, this cunning and treacherous man might even expose himself, disrupting her daily life. This would have a devastating impact on her, who was already on the verge of leaving the route and returning to normal life. She even considered tearing Hyūga Teru apart right then and there. But, not to mention that Hyūga Teru had just escaped from the clutches of over 400 men, whose strength ranged from Jinan to Jinan, and even found hundreds of millions of dollars. Earlier, while chatting with Samu, she had also learned that the Raikage had been seriously injured, apparently by Hyūga Teru alone. The possibility of tearing Hyūga Teru apart right then and there was almost negligible. Especially now that he was on guard, attempting to kill him would be tantamount to confronting the powerful Raikage head-on. Thinking of this, Nono felt distraught. She felt like she had a firm grip on him. Although Hyūga Teru's words were cryptic, she knew what observing her skills meant. How could she possibly agree to such a shameful thing? Nono remained silent. Hyūga Teru couldn't help but smirk. Well, it's just to show me my skills. They're not from our village anyway, so if they're seen, they're seen. Why don't you just cover up a little more? Nono's face was gloomy, but a flicker of uncertainty flickered in his eyes. Nono. Nono, are you still there? Samu's sudden joyful cry sent a shudder through Nono. Hyūga Teru, for some reason, felt a surge of excitement. Especially when he thought of Samu's figure and appearance, which he'd only just seen vaguely with his eyes rolled back, his heart raced. He was about to have a live broadcast with this beauty, Nono. Even though he had no particular fondness for lilies, he felt a surge of excitement inside. Seeing Hyūga Teru's excitement, Nono couldn't help but feel extremely anxious. Please leave now. She's a good girl. How will she live her life if you do this to her? Hyūga Teru sneered. Good girl? How will she live her life in the future? I think she is a little sick and needs proper treatment. You are harming her by maintaining a relationship with her like this. Anyway, it's not the first or second time that you have done it. What does it matter if it happens again? If you don't say anything and I don't say anything, how can she not live her life? I will hide in the straw pile. You can decide for yourself. If you still don't want to, then I will feel bad, and if I feel bad, I will not be able to control my mouth. This is obviously a blackmail to the end. Feeling that Samu's footsteps were getting more and more urgent, Nono pushed Hyūga Teru hurriedly. I beg you, can I provide you with that kind of service in the future? As long as I carry out the mission with you, I will provide you with that kind of service until you are satisfied. Nono's worried look surprised Hyūga Teru. Although things are non-negotiable, don't you really like her? You're willing to offer to serve me. To be honest, I'm a little moved, but it's probably not as thrilling as what you two are doing. If I don't see her today, I'll regret it for the rest of my life. Even after all this, Hyūga Teru still refused to give in. He seemed determined. Nono glared at him in exasperation. Are you a pervert? How could someone like you have to look at something else but this? Hyūga Teru gave a roguish grin. Don't you already know whether I'm a pervert or not? Besides, compared to you, I'm far behind. Hurry up and calm down, or your performance won't be good. I'm going to hide inside. Remember to show me your moves, or I won't be happy, Hyūga Teru said, and without a care in the world, he hid in the tall haystack, burying himself tightly. Only a pair of cunning eyes peeked through the deep straw. Nono was almost at a loss for words. She wanted to escape. She was also worried about Hyūga Teru's outburst and what he might say in Konoha. She wanted to accept Hyūga Teru's arrangements. She was also filled with shame and indignation, even contemplating suicide. Nono. Hey, aren't you still here? Why haven't you responded after calling me for so long? The moment Samu saw Nono, she was overjoyed and took her arm like a little woman. She even rubbed Nono's arm like a spoiled child, her eyes full of attachment. If the men in Kumo village who loved Samu saw her, they would probably be so heartbroken that they would faint on the spot. Their ice goddess, acting like a little woman in front of a woman. As if not wanting Samu to notice anything unusual, Nono quickly smiled gently. Nothing, I was just lost in thought. And I'm a little tired, Samu blinked curiously. If you're feeling a little tired, why don't I take the initiative? You just lie back. We've been together for so long, I've learned a lot. Seeing Samu's eagerness, Nono panicked and immediately rejected the idea. No. I say, that's not right. I've been away from you for so long, how can I keep you so busy the moment I get back? Let me do it, weren't you already exhausted just now? She always faced awkward situations in front of Hyūga Teru. Now the situation was tense. If there was a real choice, Samu would definitely be sacrificed. After all, Samu was from another village. Despite feeling guilty, she could still make the right choice. Samu was stunned for a moment, Then her joy returned. Okay, Nana, you're taking the initiative because you like me too much? If there's nothing else to do, why don't we do it all night, until night? Nono paled at Samu's words, nearly fainting. If you are listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means it was downloaded and re-uploaded without effort. We warmly invite you to visit our channel, Fanfic World. There you will find the original version of this story and many other novels of various genres. We look forward to seeing you dive into a world of incredible novels. Chapter 49 next time. As Samu's hands began to grow restless, Nono quickly declined. Well, maybe next time. I'm a little tired after just getting back. I'll definitely stay with you next time. Though a little frustrated, Samu nodded obediently. Okay then, you promise to stay with me longer next time? No regrets. Nono nodded silently. Then came the blushing, heart-pounding mutual massage between the two women. Nono's masterful massage technique was more than just gentle stroking, twisting, and stroking. It was the kind of massage technique that Samu, known as the iceberg goddess of the hidden clouds, couldn't stop thinking about. It was a comprehensive approach. Often, just as the initial intoxication set in, the hazy sensations would immediately expand. Often, if she failed to pay attention to both ends, the tingling sensation would surge, leaving her completely distraught. After a while, Samu's body went completely limp. She didn't want to move, letting Nono do what she wanted. Nono wore a false smile, yet guilt welled up inside. However, years of spying had accustomed her to doing her best, even against her will. Afterward, Samu didn't even notice anything unusual. She leaned blissfully in Nono's arms, whispering sweet nothings. Nono agreed for a moment, then dismissed Samu, pleading hunger. Samu considerately went to the kitchen to prepare dinner. Nono immediately approached the haystack and barked. It's been a full hour, how much longer are you going to lie there? Do you want to watch another scene? Hyūga Teru smiled, rising from the haystack and appearing before Nono. I never thought two women could pull off so many tricks, but it's quite nice. After all, you're both good looking, and it's a unique visual experience. Though the words were all praise, the irony felt like a needle piercing Nono's ears, making her heart ache unbearably. She raised her eyes full of anger and glared at Hyūga Teru. Do your words count? If you dare to ask me for anything again, I will not let you off even if I risk my life. Seeing that Nono was about to explode with anger, Hyūga Teru stopped while he was ahead, restrained his smug smile, and cleared his throat. What I said always counts, but if you are short of money, you can provide me with this kind of scene again. I think it is still worth savoring. Hyūga Teru's smile gradually turned pig-like. This made the fire that Nono had just extinguished burst out again and filled her chest. Are you a pervert? Why do you always like to watch these things? Can't you change to something normal? Hyūga Teru smiled playfully and stroked her angry face with one hand. I used to be pretty normal, but ever since you provoked me, more doors have opened in my world. The world behind these doors is quite fascinating. You've already walked ahead, so why can't I follow behind and take a look? Hyūga Teru's meaning was clear. He was once a pretty normal person, but he had suddenly become distorted because of Nono. It was all because of Nono, the pharmacist. Nono was stunned, suddenly remembering everything that had happened before. At first, this man seemed a little infatuated with her. And now, all these strange requests. Was this an unconventional way to persuade her to change? Even at the thought, she was still furious. She quickly slapped Hyūga Teru's hand away. Don't think that blaming me for this will make me become the person you like. With a pervert like you, you'll never get me in this lifetime. Forget it, never getting you in his lifetime? Do you think you're too precious? Hyūga Teru chuckled to himself. Ever since he knew about this woman's sexuality, he had long lost interest in her. His unreasonable behavior was actually just to embarrass her, to see her suffer more. It was all revenge, not a conscious attempt to retake her. It was all just for fun. This woman actually thought he had a crush on her. It was truly hilarious. Meeting Nono's cold gaze, Hyūga Teru smiled warmly. So, how about we put aside all that nonsense and get down to business? I need your help with two things. If you can help me, I'll pay you handsomely, a sum you'll never imagine. Nono was puzzled, but seeing Hyūga Teru's serious expression, she replied vaguely. Then tell me what it is. I'll see what it is. If I think it's okay, I'll do it. If you keep making unreasonable and bizarre requests, I'll apply for transfer out of this village after this operation. This essentially meant she couldn't stand him anymore and wanted to stay away. It seemed this woman had reached a breaking point in her dislike for him. To prevent the fun from running out later, Hyūga Teru suppressed his smirk and made himself look more serious. Ahem, it's nothing serious. I just saw so many Cloud Thunder cattle here, and I wanted to buy a few to take back. You're such a close friend of hers, so it shouldn't be a problem, right? Hearing it was indeed a serious matter, Nono was momentarily surprised, then immediately frowned. We do have Cloud Thunder cattle for takeout, but not in large quantities. So many died in that battle, and even I can't ask her for a large quantity. Tell me the quantity first. If it's small, I'll ask for you. Hyūga Teru nodded. You make sense, but I don't think it's a good idea to keep asking Kumagakure for them. Just get me a few for breeding. 6 for breeding, and 6 for meat, for a total of 12. Nono was stunned by Hyūga Teru's request. Even if he'd asked for 30 or 40 cattle at once, she'd have been able to accept it. But this guy actually wanted breeding stock. What on earth is wrong with his head? The Cloud Thunder cow is so strictly controlled by the Cloud Hidden Village, don't you know why? And it needs to be used as a seed. Do you think I can help you get it? Hyūga Teru probably understood that it should be very difficult. But he still refused to give up. How about this? You take me to identify which ones can be used as seeds, and then I will take them myself. If you can't get it through formal means, then you must use informal means. Use the heaven sending technique, combined with a god-level shadow clone. Just a few cows, isn't it easy to steal? And anyway, they are the enemy's things, so you can just take them away. However, when Nono heard this, he wanted to knock open Hyūga Teru's head to see what was inside. Do you know how powerful this cow is? Not to mention its great strength, its cry is comparable to thunder. You still want to steal them, are you crazy? Chapter 50 I am the fool. Nono looked at him as if he were mentally retarded, leaving Hyūga Teru somewhat bewildered. You're acting strangely. Can I assume you're reluctant to see me die? We weren't that close before, were we? This rhetorical question startled Nono. His temper immediately lost its edge. Only a fool would be reluctant to see you die. If you want to die, die far away. Don't hang around in front of me. I'll tell you which ones are good breeding stock in a moment. If you want to steal them, do it quickly. Seeing Nono's fury, Hyūga Teru was relieved. Very good. Since you're willing to cooperate, I'll keep my word. As long as the information you provide is correct, you'll receive a reward of 10 million taels, but the money you can earn from following me will be much more than 10 million taels. When you assign me assassination missions in the future, it's best to assign strong and long-lived ninjas. Not only will each person receive a reward of 1 million taels, but if I have time, I'll also give you their heads. If you need them, you can go to the underground bounty office to exchange them for money, and all the money you get will be yours. Trading heads for money was still a bit too much trouble, so Hyūga Teru refused. It was like a favor, a reward for Nono. While the idea of giving someone a head might sound a bit scary, for Nono, it was like a bombshell, exploding in her head. Not only did they give her 1 million ryo for every assassination mission, but they also gifted her the heads of powerful ninjas. Speaking of strength, she must have been at least a Jonin. The typical price for a Jonin in the underground bounty market ranged from several million ryo to tens of millions ryo. She could earn far more than even an S-rank mission simply by arranging a mission. If this guy was reliable enough, making hundreds of millions a month wouldn't be a problem. But, he just mentioned stealing the Cloud Thunder Bull. If I really wanted to join in the fun, I'd have to convince him not to. He just said only a fool would want to see this pervert die. Now I'm going to be a fool? I didn't expect the consequences to come so soon. But if I could make a killing, then even a little pride wouldn't be something I couldn't bear to sacrifice. Thinking of this, Nono lowered her head, her face flushing. Well, it's okay to help you. But it's best if you steal the cattle later, because if you do, the village might be under martial law, and your mission will be very difficult, so it's better to steal the cattle later, but don't overthink it. I'm not trying to persuade you to die later, it's just for the sake of the greater good. It was so obvious that Hyūga Teru saw it almost immediately. He couldn't help but find Nono a little amused. Okay, I promise to die later. Then you better tell me what the characteristics of breeding cattle are. I can look for them while I'm doing my missions. Come to think of it, you wouldn't be willing to let your female friend lose so many cattle, would you? Nono was a little surprised that Hyūga Teru didn't retaliate with his relentless sarcasm. But after the surprise, She quickly recovered and began to explain to Hyūga Teru which cattle were suitable for breeding. It must be said that Nono's knowledge was truly profound. The cattle in the cowshed were like her own. Pointing at one, he could immediately tell its approximate age, gender, weight, and health status. This made Hyūga Teru sigh again. This rumored strongest spy at the root was really talented and knowledgeable. 15 days passed. With Nono's help, Hyūga Teru found hundreds of cattle with the best breeding ability. By the way, he also completed 10 assassination missions. During this period, he signed in for a total of 15 days, and twice obtained the 7-day sign-in achievement of Hyūga Teru. The rewards for signing in every day were roughly various God-level lightning escape techniques and God-level swordsmanship. As for the 2 7-day sign-in achievements, they obtained Storm Release Bloodline and Melting Release Bloodline. Although these bloodlines, like Troy's magnetic escape technique last time, did not reach the God level, they were added to his body and transformed his physique a little bit. The chakra increased by 6 chakras. He had a total of 31 chakras. Compared with before, his endurance increased a little bit. By the way, are you really sure you want to steal the cows? How are you going to steal all those cows? Aren't you just going to die? Nono stared at Hyūga Teru with deep concern. The two of them bathed in the bathhouse again, but this time they were even more lavish than the first time. They drank Hyūga Teru's famous milk tea and ate the best local desserts. They were more relaxed and willing to spend money than when they first arrived. From 10 assassination missions, Hyūga Teru had earned 70 to 80 million yuan. Nono also made over 100 million yuan. It was only natural that she would suddenly worry that the days of easy money were gone. But Hyūga Teru gave her a playful look. You sound like you care about me again. If you're so reluctant to let me die, why not try to persuade me? Maybe I'll soften my ear and listen to you. Just when she had felt like a hero's last stand, Nono suddenly felt that this guy deserved to die. Hyūga Teru's words made her feel like she was truly destined to die. He immediately responded angrily. Whatever you want to do, I've made enough money anyway. If you want to die, then go ahead and do it. I'm sickened just by seeing you. Hyūga Teru's expression hinted at a hint of sadness. As a woman, at least have a little more compassion. After all, your quality of life has improved so much thanks to my help, right? However, his hand continued to caress Nono's thigh, giving her goosebumps. If you didn't touch me, I'd still be willing to have some sympathy. But now I feel like you don't deserve my sympathy at all. Hyūga Teru sighed. I thought you agreed to provide me with special services during the first mission out of guilt. I thought you might have the same chance this time. I didn't expect you to be so heartless. I thought the look you gave me every day, anticipating my arrival, was genuine, but it turns out it was all just wishful thinking. I wonder if anyone will leave flowers at my grave after I die. I should be a village hero by now, right? Nono chuckled. Even if people like us are heroes, we are unknown heroes. We are doing shameful things. What else do you want? Why did you steal the cows? Isn't it better to continue like this? Hyūga rubbed his nose and said embarrassedly. It's mainly because my maid wanted to eat it, and I also like to eat this kind of beef. So, let's try to steal a few and bring them back, risking his life just for the sake of appetite. It's a pity that I still worry about it. This guy is definitely hopeless. Then you should just die. It's not a compulsory thing in the first place, but you have to make trouble for no reason. You can't blame anyone if you die. End of this chapter. Thank you so much for reading until the end. Don't forget to give it a like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription or donation encourages us to continue. Thank you all. See you in the next video.